Do you want me to give the president pro tem?
Okay, everyone, get to your seats. I'm going to get started now. I call this meeting to order at 7:01 p.m. The University of Central Florida respectfully acknowledges that it's located on the traditional lands of the Ice, Appalachee, Calusa, Timucua, and Tocobago tribes, as well as the Seminole Tribe of Florida and the Miccosukee Tribe of Indians of Florida. Roll call and verification of quorum, Chair Gaudio.
Luke Paul.
Present.
Reed.
Present.
Olivia Smith. Hagenbuch. Casimiro.
Present.
Collis.
Present.
Ariza.
Present.
Capanos.
Present.
Lim.
Present.
Pison.
Present.
Satvika.
Present.
Chow.
Present.
Jane.
Present.
Sherman.
Present.
Danae Smith.
Present.
Ali.
Present.
D. Malik.
Present.
Orwela. Hamid. Kaufman. Lucht.
Present.
Metellus. McNulty.
Present.
Rocasa.
Present.
Rose.
Present.
Rudy.
Present.
Torreo Hernandez. El Harak. Fawcett. Riggett.
Present.
I'm here. Chauhan. Escobar.
Present.
Magadia.
Here.
Rodriguez.
Present.
Longin. Hassanain. Phillips.
Present.
Green.
Present.
Wynn.
Present.
Bonaventure. Perez.
Present.
Alcuda.
Present.
Panache. Candeloro.
Present.
Courts.
Present.
Jones.
Present.
Leon.
Present.
Matthews. McRae.
Present.
Nurse-Medevra.
Present.
Runda.
Present.
Connolly.
Present.
Simmons.
Present.
Teodorescu.
Present.
Varela.
Present.
Zivin.
Present.
Lipner.
Present.
45 out of 59.
All right, everyone take a look at last meeting's minutes, and is there a motion to approve last meeting's minutes? And then everyone take a look at today's agenda, and is there a motion to approve today's agenda? Okay. Open forum, anybody here to speak in open forum? Seeing none, announcements from the student body president given by the Attorney General.
Good evening, Senate. I apologize for not being able to attend today's meeting. I am currently at Frost Warning supporting our amazing athletics coordinator, Dwayne Jones. This week, I had the pleasure of attending the University Trustee Summit in Tampa with all of the state university system schools, which was hosted by the Florida Board of Governors. I had a great time getting to discuss key priorities with my fellow student body presidents in person. Again, I just want to reiterate that I am so proud of Coordinator Jones and all of his hard work with athletics for Frost Warning tonight. See you at the drone show at 8:40.
Any questions that the Attorney General can answer? Seeing none, So we'll move on to comptroller's report, also given by Attorney General.
Good afternoon, everyone. I apologize for not being in attendance tonight. I'm currently at Frost Warning. I met yesterday with Fong in the ANSF business office to review the findings from the SG Finance office, and we will be meeting again on Monday at 11 a.m. virtually to discuss those findings further and determine their legitimacy. I'll report back to you all with an update next week. At this time, the current CRT balance is $196,396.83 with a reversion rate of 0.79%, and the current FAO balance is $117,303 with 3 cents with a reversion rate of 0.27%. Please let me know if you have any questions.
Any questions that you can answer? Senator Hassanine, President voting, so noted at 7:05 p.m. Any questions? Seeing none, AG report, AG Latimer.
Good evening, Senate. Not much from me this week. I had a meeting with the webmasters regarding Microsoft Teams to discuss the SG Drive, and I will be presenting at Senate Exec next week to start assigning folders to everyone. I've also been updating bills and tracking legislation. Please do not hesitate to reach out with any questions or concerns.
Any questions for the Attorney General? Seeing none, thank you. Announcements from the Chief Justice Kazera.
Good evening, Senate. I am excited to say that Lounging with the Lawyers, our annual Judicial Outreach Committee's event, will take place next Wednesday, November 12th at 7 p.m. in the Charge On Chamber. You can now view the post on ucf.sg Instagram, RSVP, and submit questions in the link tree. The Judicial Council has seen a major increase in parking citation appeal requests, with hearing 5 this Wednesday and since then receiving another 5. The Council is working diligently to see all the cases. Today, I received a judicial review request, which I deemed with merit and referred to the Judicial Council. With a vote count of 14-0, the Judicial Council has granted the request for review, as well as has granted injunctions on the internal bills 5717 and 5726 as requested by the complainant. In addition to these updates, I would like to bring to the Senate's attention a few recent concerns. Senators, I would like to bring to light recent concerns about the internal Bill 5716, which updates Title IX to include the judicial rules of procedure within the noncompliance and censure procedures. The bill, which will be seen for third reading tonight, would have major negative impacts on the Judicial Council if passed. For everyone's understanding, the Judicial Rules of Procedure is an internal document that justices must adhere to based on Title V, Chapter 505.8. The JRP's amendment and ratification process outlined in Rule 1.10 of the JRP describes that only the Chief Justice or the Internal Rules Committee may bring a proposed amendment before the Council, which, if approved by simple majority, will then need to be signed for approval by the Senior Student Affairs Officer. I would like to bring forward my concerns surrounding the inclusion of the JRP within Title IX alongside the ERP. Unlike the Election Commission, which is an entity within the jurisdiction of the Senate, the Judicial Council is an independent branch of student government. The JRP allows the branch to implement internal rules and guiding procedures for associate justices. The JRP also enforces the accountability system within the judicial branch by outlining a detailed code of conduct found as the preamble to the document. I would like to emphasize that the Judicial Rules of Procedure is a document that must adhere to Title V and the Student Government Constitution, respectively, above all else. Any regulatory actions that were to be enacted on Title V would thus serve as regulation on the JRP. Therefore, there is no reason for the legislative body to have the ability to censure or noncompliance in associate justice based on the judicial branch's internal rules. As such, I view this bill as an overreach of power that would infringe upon the Council's ability to self-regulate and keep each other accountable. It would instead hand that ability to members outside of the Judicial Council. Hence, I suggest to the Senate to heed Chair Gaudio's amendment from last week to strike the Judicial Rules of Procedure from the internal Bill 5716. If this bill were to pass in its current state, I would like to notify the legislative body that I would be requesting a veto from President Blanco on this legislation. My expressed views do not reflect the views or opinions of the Judicial Council. However, I pledge to recuse myself from any Judicial Council hearings that may arise from this legislation. Lastly, any Any further questions on this matter, please direct them to my email at sga_cjust@ucf.edu.
Any questions for the Chief Justice? Chair Burwell?
Can you repeat which bills were selected for judicial review?
Selected for the judicial review or
The
injunctions?
ones that the injunctions you said.
The injunctions, yes. This will all be uploaded by Colin as I'm speaking, but the injunctions were granted on internal bills 5717 and 5726.
Any other questions for the Chief Justice? Seeing none, thank you. Announcements from the Supervisor of Elections, Supervisor Presley.
That's embarrassing. Let me repeat that. So good evening, Senate. Happy November and Space Week. I hope everyone is doing well. At our next GBM on Monday, the commission will be conducting a mock violation hearing as we prepare for the spring election period. This semester, I emphasized Title VI education with the commission, so I look forward to putting this knowledge to the test on Monday. As a reminder, the prospective presidential and Senate candidates Q&A is next Wednesday on November 12th from 5 to 7 p.m. in the Live Oak Ballroom. As a reminder, this event is targeted towards anyone interested in running for candidacy in the 2026 SG elections. The RSVP form for this event can be found on the Election Commission's Night Connect. And if you have any questions about the event, please direct them to me or our Candidate Affairs Chair, Emily Mello at sgec14@ucf.edu. And then last for me, Assistant Supervisor Collazo and I sat down with Shane, Chantel, and E&A Chair Chow to make adjustments to Bill 5717, which adjusts changes to Title VI. Adjustments are still being made, and we hope to have everything finalized before E&A meets again next Thursday.
Any questions for the Supervisor of Elections? Seeing none, thank you. NSF Chair Kaufman isn't here, but it says, hi everyone, sorry I'm not there tonight. All budget packets were sent out to the NSF funded entities last Friday. They are due to the committee on November 25th at something p.m. right before Thanksgiving break. The committee quickly met this Monday. We discussed some of the updates I made to finalize the budget packet last week before they were sent out, the dates for the budget hearing in December, and started gathering any dietary restrictions to plan food for the hearing. If you have any questions, please reach out to him personally. Caucus reports, Eric Caucus Chair Alcuda.
Hi everyone, right now we're just planning for the spring semester, and that's really it for me.
Any questions for the Air Caucus Chair? Seeing none. APIA Caucus Chair Lim.
Hey everyone, hope you had a fun and safe Halloween. Today we met to discuss initiatives and event ideas for spring semester. Thanks everyone.
Any questions for the APIA Chair? Seeing none. Black Caucus Chair Smith.
Hi everyone, for caucus we went over planning for future events and going over our meeting time for spring semester. If you're interested in being a part of the Black Caucus, please fill out this one to meet by Monday. Thank you.
Any questions for the Black Caucus Chair? Seeing none. ICTC Chair Barella.
Hi, we don't meet this week, but we help support Rosen and we help support SBA and their tabling efforts at Rosen. We also got new little ICTC magnets in, which are super pretty, super cute. Big thanks to Russia Paris for that. All her design. Great artists. Y'all should go see them. They're amazing. And lastly, we have our bi-weekly meeting next Tuesday at 10:30 a.m.
Any questions for the ICTC Chair? Seeing none. Latin Hispanic Caucus Chair Trevor Hernandez.
Hi, Senate. We're meeting for the last time in the semester, the 18th. And I also sent out a link to meet, so please get that filled out as soon as possible, just so we can schedule our first meeting in springtime. As for those who know, I graduate this fall, so I would like your chair in spring as soon as possible. Thank you.
Any questions for the Latin Hispanic Caucus Chair? Seeing none. LGBTQ plus Caucus Chair Ganesh is not here. So Vice Chair Altuna, if you would like to take it.
Yeah, we participated in SGLC Caucus Day this week, and then we also are focusing on a couple proclamations for upcoming semester and upcoming months. Yeah.
Any questions for the LGBTQ plus Caucus Vice Chair? Seeing none. Sustainability Caucus Chair Lippner.
Yeah, this week we participated in the SGLC event, and I would like to pass it over to Vice Chair Sherman to explain what happened.
Yeah, it was a good opportunity to talk to a lot of the people in SGLC about the Sustainability Caucus, and it was good seeing their excitement, and I'm glad they got to learn about all the other caucuses as well.
All right, any questions for the Sustainability Caucus Vice Chair? Seeing none, announcements from the Senate President. Hi, Senate. The polo restock has been shipped and it should be here next week. It's actually on my desk right now. So if you haven't gotten your polo, please see me either tonight after the meeting or tomorrow. Not tomorrow, Monday. The mental health awareness event held by SBA was a success. We had surprise appearances from both Nitro and Citronaut. Committee chairs, please start figuring out what times work best for you and your committees for next semester. Mondays from 1 to 2 and 4 to 5 in the conference room are already claimed, so you are not available to take those. And then our last Senate meeting will be on November 20th, and that will be for the rest of the semester. Are there any questions from you? Seeing none, ILA report, ILA Brody.
Hi everyone, so the SGLC banquet will be November 24th, so if you'd like to be a part of welcoming the upcoming SLC class after they receive their council decisions, I encourage you to attend, and then make sure to fill out the mentee feedback form that has been emailed to you if you were a mentor this semester, so we can help in the council decision process.
Any questions from the ILA? Seeing District Venus.
What time is that on the 24th?
So it's gonna be in the evening, but we don't have the time completely set up yet.
District Venus.
And where's the location? Sorry.
It'll be in the library hall.
All right, any other questions about ILA? Seeing none, ELA report, ELA read.
Hi everyone, I had 2 dean meetings this week with CECS and nursing. Just a friendly reminder, when we're in the meetings, we should not be checking our phones, typing on our laptop, or being overall disengaged with the deans. You should be making eye contact and actively engaging in the conversation. They are taking time out of their busy schedule to meet with us. Trust me, they were not easy to plan. So I better see each and every one of you engaging and being active in the conversation. And that's the last time we'll be having this conversation. Additionally, please message me if you haven't gotten your headshot. If you do have your headshot, please make sure to add them to the headshot folder in the Senate Teams. I'm working on uploading all the team meetings into the Teams as well. I recorded all of the minutes and actively recorded audio from the meetings so that they're as accurate as possible for you guys. It's just taking me a little bit to get through them all. Additionally, the photos I took at the meeting last week are the process of uploading to Teams. For some reason, I have to individually upload each and every photo. So I took over 300, so that's quite a bit. So thank you.
Any questions for the ELA? Senator Awala.
President voting.
Senator Awala, President voting, so at 7:18 p.m. Any questions for the ELA? Seeing none, Senate President Pro Tem Floor report. Jason's not here, so it says, hello everyone, happy Space Week. Sorry for not being at the meeting tonight, but I'll see you all next week. Our distribution drive is this Sunday from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Please let me know if you're interested in coming. Sexual Wellness Bingo is happening next Thursday from 2 to 4 p.m. in the Charge on Chamber. Night's Give for Good is happening next Friday from 10:30 to 2:30. Fiscal tabling will be next Thursday from 11 to 3. For the fiscal committees, we will use the same when to meet to see who will be at the table at what time. So please show up when you said you were available. I'm starting Hamid's habitat for the end of the meeting. So if you have an animal/pet you want to show off to the Senate, please send me a picture and a fun fact of them. This week, it's my cat, Afton. Since the D-Leg and I will not be at the Senate meeting, if you have any questions for either of us, send me a message on Teams. And then last, we have Senator of the Month, which I have on here. It says, for the month of October, I wanted to recognize a senator who has been hard at work to connect SG to members of our community who tend to not be heard the most, our Rosen, Downtown, and Lake Nona-ites. The senator is consistently organized opportunities for senators to connect to these members of our community, and to share our resources to these students in return. For this hard work, I believe that they are deserving to be recognized as our Senator of the Month of October. Please help me congratulate Vice Chair Veronica Perez. Up here, you can get it whenever we caucus for certificate. Any questions? Seeing none. D-Like report. I'll let you know.
So Ryan's not here, so I'll give the announcements for him. He says, "Hello everyone. Sorry again that I'm not here tonight. I'll be going through and updating the bills tracker and sending out past legislation as soon as I get home tonight. And who knows what time in the morning, maybe. You can still submit legislation between now and the end of the semester. There's just no guarantee that it'll be seen due to all the work that they have to do on the break. The fiscal bill 5735 was postponed indefinitely in committee because RSO would be potentially acquire more funds through an allocation. I understand that there are a lot of fiscal bills on second reading tonight, but please be sure to give each RSO your undivided attention. The legislation enacted is fiscal bills 5723, 24, 27, internal bills 5714, and proclamations 5711 and 5712. In tonight's legislation on first reading, we have 2 fiscal bills, 9 internal bills, and 1 proclamation. And then on third reading, we have 2 fiscal bills, 2 internal bills, and 1 resolution. And then on second reading, we have 6 fiscal bills, 3 were postponed to committee, and 2 should be in CRT's caucus today, and then 3 internal bills and 2 proclamations.
Great. Any questions that the DSER can answer? Seeing none, DSER report, DSER committees.
Okay, good evening, Senate. I hope that you all had a chance to decorate some cookies on the way in and enjoy the treats for today's meeting. I want to get started for the IM leagues. So we do have our soccer and volleyball that just started. We had our volleyball last week, and on this pace, if we keep going with this momentum, we're going to win the championships. So I'm very excited to see all the hard work that's been put in with that. And then our soccer team is starting next Monday. So if you want to come out and support, I believe that's at 7:40 at the RWC Parks. And then for RSO allocations, I do have all the new senators' RSOs already put out in the tracker, and I will send you guys an email soon. And then I will also send out an announcement to a link of the template that is going to be the mid-semester template to check up on them. And then that's going to be due hopefully by November 18th. So I'm going to try to get that out this weekend. So just look out for that. And then November 18th is going to be the deadline for when you guys can submit those RSO email screenshots to my email. And then our upcoming events. So we have Friendsgiving coming up. It's going to be like our potluck with board games and things like that. It's going to be November 15th, and it will be within the SG office. That's going to be in the evening. I'll send updates for the time. There is a sign up genius for things to bring. So we have sweet treats, we have savory treats, we have snacks, we have drinks, and then gluten-free and vegan options if you guys would like to prepare those as well. So you can just go right up to the Sign Up Genius and then sign up for that. And then there's an allergen form. I have been noted already of a couple allergens. I will make a note for anyone to not bring any seafood items. That is the only thing that I'm going to be saying that you can't bring to our potluck. But everything else should be good unless I get more requests from the allergen form. And then we have field day at Lake Claire coming up, and that's going to be on the following weeks. But I believe it'll be the weekend right before break. So there'll be more information coming in that soon. And yeah, if you guys want to bring games and stuff for that, it's going to be a great time. So thank you.
Any questions for the DSER?
And we will also have our online bonding this Sunday around the same time. So for those that want to participate, you can look at announcements in the Discord.
Any questions for the DSER? Seeing none. Old business, none. Fiscal committee caucus time. I hereby adjourn this meeting at 7:23 p.m. to re-adjourn at 7:43 p.m. Fiscal committee report, CRT committee chair.
Hi, everyone. Apologies for the prolonged caucus. This week in CRT, we approved allocations 57, 322, 336 through 342, 344, 346, 348, and 349. We postponed allocations 57, 335, 343, 345, and 350, and PPI allocations 57, 302, 307, 312, 316, 347, and 351. We passed fiscal bills 57, 32, and 36, postponed 37, and 39, and passed internal bills 57, 19, and 20. And in caucus, we resaw and approved allocation 57-307, passed fiscal bill 57-39, and postponed 57-37.
Any questions for the CRT committee chair? Seeing none, FAO committee chair Lush.
Hello, everyone. In committee, we approved allocations 57-106 and 107. We postponed allocation 57-103. We approved fiscal bill 57-34. We PPI fiscal bill 57-35, and we postponed fiscal bill 57-38.
Any questions for the FAO committee chair? Seeing none, ORS committee chair Rose.
Last week, we approved 3 VPFs, and if you're on ORS, join the fiscal Jeopardy team, please.
Any questions for the ORS committee chair? Seeing none, fiscal legislation, notice of legislation on first reading, fiscal bill 5740, remanded to FAO, fiscal bill 5741, remanded to CRT, notice of legislation on third reading. First, we have fiscal bill 5731. Leila Kaufman is not here, but I will represent it. There have been no changes. Yeah, there have been no changes. We're not up here to questioning. Are there any questions? Seeing none, we're not up here to debate. Is there any debate on this bill? Seeing none, we are now in a period of voting. Okay, we are going to do a revote. We are now going to procedures. With a vote count of 44-0 to 1 in fiscal bill 57 31 passes third reading. Next, we have Fiscal Bill 5733. Senator Sakata, you have, is there a motion for speeches, question, or debate? With her.
Motion for 5-10-10.
There's been a motion for 5-10-10 and a second. Any objections? Hearing none, you have 5 minutes from everybody.
There's been no changes to this bill since our last meeting, but just to reiterate everything, I think it's a super cool organization. They're representing different cultures, and I think it's just really important to be inclusive. And I think that's what this organization does, especially with bringing other universities and just having them compete at UCF. So I think that's really important. And with that, I yield my time.
All right, we're now in period of questioning. Are there any questions on this bill? Senator Rickett?
Yes, what was the vote count for this bill on last week?
Last week, this bill passed 44-0. 44-0. Chair Gaudio?
I move to approve this fiscal bill.
There's been a motion to approve this fiscal bill by general consent.
Second.
And a second. Any objections? Hearing none, this fiscal bill has been approved by general consent. Notice of legislation on second reading. First, we have Fiscal Bill 5732, funding for 22 members of MedLife to travel to MedLife Movement Spring, Lima SLT Mobile Clinic in Lima, Peru, from March 14th, 2026 to March 22nd, 2026. Senator Green, you have 5 minutes whenever you're ready.
My apologies, I'm pulling it up right now. My apologies. I yield to the RSO if they're here.
Okay, the RSO, you may come to the podium.
Okay, it's on. Hi, my name is Brenda Garza. I'm here with MedLife. I'm the mobile clinics officer for MedLife UCF. We are going to attend an SLT in Lima, Peru. An SLT is a service learning trip in Lima, Peru from March 14th to March 22nd. This is a basic itinerary that we will be following. We'll transfer in on a Saturday, March 14th. We'll be having a walking tour with our organization, and then a reality tour which explains like the situation that the communities that we're facing deal with. And then we have 3 days of clinical experience where they will be shadowing doctors of different types. They'll shadow 2 different stations. On Monday through Friday, we'll be provided 3 meals a day, and we will be provided transportation by the organization. And then one day we have a project day, which we will be building a project, either depending on the community, from greenhouses to like working and helping in like daycares to help the community that we're working with. These are the stations that our participants will be shadowing in. Triage, where they're taking vitals, taking personal information, education, which is educating the patients about like health topics like breast cancer or cervical cancer or diabetes. OBGYN, which is only open to our female participants. General medicine, where we have three general medicine doctors, which deal with any general procedure. Pharmacy, and where the participants will be dealing with prescriptions that the general medicine doctors prescribe. Dental, where they'll be shadowing a dentist and doing tooth extractions, cavities, and toothbrushing, which is a participant-led station. Our lodging is included in the registration. It's at Alcanfores 465 in Lima, Peru. And transportation from the hotel to the communities is provided by the organization. That's good. Benefits for the UCF community. We gain a lot of global perspective. When we come back from these SLTs, our officers or participants hold, like currently we're going to hold a medical ethics workshop, and we also hold like advocacy tabling where we talk about health disparities and health topics that affect our community. We learn practical skills like Spanish, medical Spanish, and also like taking vitals, which we're having workshops on those right now in our club. It builds leadership and teamwork. Personally, for me, after attending my first SLT in freshman year, it like gave me the confidence and the passion to like apply for a leadership position in MedLife. It gains cultural awareness. We work with cultural clubs like JAMSA, which is like Jamaican American Medical Association, and Latin Rhythm to provide culturally aware like and fun events. And then it also inspires continued service. We encourage our participants and our members to continue doing local mobile clinics like for Shepherd's Hope and Project Downtown in our local Orlando community. Fundraising, we have two ways of fundraising for your SLT. We have MedLife Advocate Rewards, which is a point system where a participant can gain points that in turn turn into like monetary discounts. So we have a $50 QR code. So if the participant scans the QR code and fills out a form, they get 500 points, which is $50 off their SLT. And then also we have a personal contributions page where after registering, you can start a contributions page like a GoFundMe, which you can send to your friends and family asking for donations to fund your SLT. This is the cost breakdown. The registration, which I have photos of, is $1,483, and the travel is $482. Because we are 18 participants, we will be receiving a $100 discount from the organization. And then because all of our participants have filled out this QR code form, we will also be receiving a $50 discount. So that is subtracted from the total, which is then the total for each participant is $1,815. That number is wrong for some reason, but the final that SG will be contributing is $16,335. These are some images from the last SLTs that I have attended. This one was the one with the more on the right is from Cusco, Peru. The population there, the communities that we help there are more native communities. They actually didn't speak Spanish. They speak a language called Quechua. And then for them, we built greenhouses to help them because they face a lot of difficulties with global warming, and giving them greenhouses will help create variety for their food sources. And then for Costa Rica, Tamarindo, Costa Rica, we helped set up and help benefit a daycare center, which provides food and a learning place for the kids in the community. These are just some receipts of the total, the $1,483 and the flight cost.
Your speech time has elapsed. Is there a motion? Motion to extend speech time by 2 minutes.
There's been a motion to extend speech time by 2 minutes.
Second.
Any objections? Hearing none, we have 2 minutes.
Madam Speaker, may I raise a point of personal preference?
You may.
I'm struggling to read the PowerPoints. Could we please dim the lights just a bit?
Yes. If you wish to continue your presentation, you may.
Yeah, so these last two slides are just images of proof. So that's the payment, and then these are the images of the discounts and the QR code that all of our participants have filled out.
Okay, we're now for questioning. Are there any questions, Senator Ganesh?
President voting.
Senator Ganesh, President voting, started at 8:08 p.m. Senator Walla, and then Senator Cricket.
Can you confirm that there's 18 members going?
Yes, we have a Google Sheet form, which 18 members have filled out, and they've all stated that they are 100% going.
Senator Rickett.
2 questions, if I may, Madam Speaker.
You may.
My first question to the RSO is, have any of your members that are going ever been to Peru?
Yes, one of them.
Okay, my second question is, I'm looking here at the Travel Advisory Board of the U.S. State Department. It is an elevated risk for travel. Can you foresee any circumstances where that might be an issue for security?
I have been in contact with their chapter coach because there have been like protests in Lima, Peru. But she assures me that we will not be staying in the area of the protests, and then those protests have not affected any of the work that they do.
Any other questions for the RSO? Senator Whitaker?
Have you begun filling out the international travel approval and request form, also known as a travel approval petition, with UCF Global?
No, I was waiting for funding.
And then Senator Leon?
If I may ask, why is the OGYN clinic only open to your female students?
It's just a cultural preference. Many women don't even see OBGYNs, and let alone a male OBGYN is even more taboo.
All right. Any other questions, Senator Hall?
Are any of the attendees of this trip international students?
No.
Any other questions, Senator Wall?
Motion to see my amendment as a thing.
We are in
Is that
question.
debate?
Senator Whitaker?
Are you familiar with the TAP process?
Yes, I've been on 2 SLTs and I filled out those forms before.
All right, are there any other questions for the RSO? Senator Ocasio?
If anyone were to drop out, do you guys have like a list of alternatives that would be able to go?
Yes, I have a backup who is like 50-50% going. So if anything, we can encourage them by stating that we have funding for an 18th person.
Senator Whitaker?
And then finally, can you clarify what's going on the optional tour on the Saturday event on the itinerary?
Yes, so the optional tour on the itinerary is on Saturday. It's a tour to like the Incas, and like it's a sand dune tour. It's an additional cost, which is paid at registration, which will not be like forwarded onto SG.
All right.
Follow up from there?
You may.
If students don't choose to attend this optional tour, what will they be doing?
They have a free day where they can explore the city.
All right, any other questions for the RSO? Seeing none, we're not here to debate. Senator Welling, this is a technical chair Sherman.
Motion to see my amendment.
There has been a motion to see
Second.
Chair Sherman's amendments in a second. Any objections? Seeing none, you have a minute.
Yeah, with the registration cost of $14.83, there were $150 of discounts. That brings it down to $1,333. So the registration total is updated to reflect that, as well as the total costs.
All right, we're now for questioning. Chair Gotti.
I move to approve these amendments.
There's been a motion to approve these amendments by general consent. Any objections? Hearing none. These amendments have been approved by general consent. We are still in debate on the bill as a whole. Are there any other pieces of debate? Senator Whitmer?
May I ask a question?
You may.
Can whoever's controlling the PowerPoint bring up the slide that had all the budget breakdown once again, please? Thank you.
Are there any other pieces of debate? Seeing none. Senator Green?
I was just going to motion a vote.
Okay, there's been a motion to vote and a second. Any objections? Seeing none, we are now in voting proceedings. Okay, with a vote count of 46 to 2 to 0, Fiscal Bill 5732 passes second reading. Thank you. Next, we have Fiscal Bill 5734, funding for American Society of Civil Engineers to create the Steel Bridge project for the Southeast Student Symposium at Florida Atlantic University on March 12, 2026. Senator Martellus is not here, so Who would take that? Did that come from FAO or CRT?
It's FAO, and the RSO is here, so you'll take
Okay.
RSO.
RSO, you may come up whenever you're ready.
It's working? There we go. All right. Good evening. My name is Sutherland Harper. I am the project manager for ASCE Steel Bridge. This is.
Good evening. I'm Nicholas Howell. I'm the financial lead for Steel Bridge.
Next slide. So Steel Bridge is a project under the American Society of Civil Engineers. We compete during ASCE's Student Symposium. This year's Student Symposium will be between March 12th to 14th at Florida Atlantic University. What Steel Bridge is tasked with is each year we design, fabricate, and build on-site a steel model bridge to hold 2,500 pounds. So what this does is it helps our students learn outside of coursework skills and other networking opportunities to go improve their whole education. So Steel Bridge has been in competition since around 2001. We have won national twice. We have gone to nationals about 3 times at this point. We have also attended every regional comp since 2001. So, yeah. So with this Steel Bridge, we are hoping to go get funding from y'all to go help with our machine parts. So next slide. So with our design, what we do specifically is that we go help our students go do frame analysis and other connection software. This is not commonly taught within our classes, so it helps them go into industry. Next one. Next is fabrication. Most civil engineers will never get the chance to go build what they design. So it is a great learning opportunity overall because they get a more realistic approach to what their design is. Next slide. Lastly, we must build our bridge day of the competition. So each one of our parts we design must come apart and be bolted day of. And we essentially race to see who can ever build our bridge the fastest. Yeah. During the competition, what happens is we measure the amount of time, the amount of builders it takes to build our bridge, and we go load 2,500 pounds. You see how much it deflects, okay? How much the bridge bends due to that load. With the minimum weight, the minimum deflection, the minimum amount of builders, and the minimum amount of race time, you're then scored, and whoever has the least amount of deflection and all those scores wins essentially.
Okay, so here's going to be a breakdown of what our fund is going to be used for. So the way I broke this down is I broke it into basically what we'll be getting on our own and contributing and what the SGA funds will be used for. So the funds that we receive from our sponsors now, our sponsors consist of engineering firms who are interested, such as like Kinley Horn, HNTB, and they consist also of old people that used to be on Steel Bridge, like old members who still want to sponsor. And then we also get a stipend from AISC and I think another engineering organization. They're ones who help sponsor the competition. And the funds we get from our sponsors are going to be used for materials purposes, and we'll see a bit more about that in a few more slides. And then they're used for our fabrication equipment parts, our oils, our welding gas, and they're also used for visual things like our presentation poster and also the paints and markers we need to make our bridge look good. And then the funds we're receiving from SGA will be used to purchase our machine connections. Now, these machine connections are expensive, and we'll see a breakdown of it on the next slide. Okay, so I apologize about the image quality. It was hard to fit this onto one slide, but this is a general breakdown of what we'll be purchasing on our end with SteelBridge. And so on the bill, it's a bit more of a general breakdown. So the stuff we'll be buying is basically raw steel, and these come in sections of 6 feet, and we need to buy that long so we can have long enough to do our sections. And we'll be getting raw steel, and we'll also be getting nuts and bolts. Those come in different packages. And then we'll also be doing the welding supplies, which is mainly just argon gas. We need to refill it about twice a year because we use quite a bit, especially when it comes around to the spring. And so on this breakdown, I think y'all might have the slides too. So you can zoom in a bit and it would like clear up slightly, but it's okay from this. So the furthest left column describes the item, and it will show you like the very specific name of it. And then the next column, excuse me, next column is the quantity. So we can buy these like multiple sections. Like for example, that first item has about 8 parts to it. And then the next column is the exact total cost. It's unrounded. And then the next column is the quote number. You should have the quotes, and you can check the number. It corresponds to the quote. And then the next column is the vendor. Now, our main vendors are McMaster-Carr. They're who we get all our steel and nuts and bolts from. And we also get a lot from Home Depot and Airgas. Airgas is the company that does the welding gas. They're on like the west side of town. And we also have some stuff shipped through FedEx. That's mainly our presentation poster. And
Before we continue, your time has elapsed. Is there a motion? Senator Green?
Motion to extend speech time by 3 minutes.
There's been a motion to extend speech time by 3 minutes and a second. Any objections? Hearing none, you have 3 more minutes to continue.
There's a point of personal matter. Could we dim the lights a little bit more?
Yes.
okay. And lastly, that last column there is URLs for basically just the items themselves. So some of these don't have a URL because they're just in a PDF. And some of them won't show you like exactly the 8 quantity because you have to select it on the site. It's like buying something off of Home Depot. You have to select like a quantity. And click on to the next slide. That was not supposed to happen. I think we might have a technical issue. So that blacked out space is supposed to have a little spreadsheet in it. It's kind of like a chart like the last one. I'm seeing it on our end, but it's not popping up. Okay, you can do that. Okay, so what that would have been showing is a cost breakdown of what the SGA fund is going to be. So as we said before, we're going to be purchasing our machine connections with the SGA funds. These machine connections are expensive. They're laser cut out of solid steel. They're very strong. That's why we do it. And the exact total cost would be $4,616.59. Now we rounded that, just do a whole number so we can get a whole number for our bill, which would be $4,617. And that's quote number 2. And the vendor for this is the UCF Mechanical and Aerospace Engineering Machine Shop. It's in Engineering 2 in the atrium. It's right next to the TI lab. And there's no URL for that because it's just a PDF. And then the black box in the very last page would have also been another chart. And it just shows the total cost. So the total combined cost without unrounding is $9,483.61. Now the with rounded cost is $9,486. Now that comes to be about $3 more. And that was because the way I separated it up when I did my cost breakdown, it was kind of like what you're seeing in the bill. And I basically got the quantities of the items and I rounded it as like smaller sections, and it just compounded into a few more dollars. So that's pretty much a breakdown of the financial stuff.
Okay, so the presentation that's linked in our minutes does not have it, but we are now here to questioning. Are there any questions? Senator Lipner?
Did you already receive funding from CRT to support the Southeast Student Symposium at FAU?
So technically, yes, but that's not for Steel Bridge. So the way it's kind of broken up with ASC is like, so we have ASC, UCF's like the big student club, but it has smaller competitions kind of within it. And we're just one of those smaller competitions. And I think like some of the other ones like Concrete Canoe or Timber Strong, I think Timber Strong had their meeting pretty recently. So the ASC, UCF has technically received funds, but Steel Bridge hasn't, if you're interested.
Chair Vadio?
3, if I may.
You may.
So this is a project that involves welding. I saw that you use argon, so presumably MIG or TIG. So for your certified weld procedures that you use for the bridge, where do you get them from? Can you tell me a bit about the weld procedures that you guys use?
All right, specifically for the procedure, when we do our welding, it is very much self-taught. We are currently trying to do more specific procedures that are more industry standard, but previously we essentially have gone with a self-taught method for our procedures. Or are you referring to, when you say procedures, are you saying our method, or are you saying typically how we start our weld and end our weld?
I'm saying the weld procedure that you follow in accordance with, you mentioned industry standards, so like maybe a pre-certified procedure from ASME or AWS, or perhaps writing your own procedure, or one that's given to you by big ASCE. I want to ask about that.
Essentially, we have no written procedure.
Your second question?
So, well, I can't really ask this since you don't have a weld procedure. When your welds are finished on your final product, are your welds inspected by an AWS certified weld inspector prior to load testing?
Yes, we do have a head judge that inspects all of our welds before it is tested.
And your last question?
Just the two.
Okay. Any other questions for this RSO? Senator Rickett?
Thank you, Madam Speaker. 2 questions, if I may.
You may.
For the RSO, you are requesting funds for hazardous material, hazmat. Okay. My follow-up question is: are any members of your organization that's working on Steel Bridge, are any of them hazmat certified or received hazmat training?
No.
Okay. Any other questions for this RSO? Seeing none, we are not here to debate. Anybody wishing to speak in the debate? Chair Vadio?
So I will say this is a great project. I know some friends who have done this project. It's a great experience. I will say I do have some concern that they don't have any written weld procedures or certifications written down, because those weld procedures are very important for knowing what filler metal to use with certain metals and who can conduct the weld, because not only does the procedure for the weld have to be good, but the person doing the weld has to be good as well. So I do have concerns about that, but they've done it before, so I can't be that.
All right. Any other wishing to speak in debate? Senator Rickett?
I'll echo the same sentiments as our Senator Gaudio. I think this is a great project for the Steel Bridge. However, I would recommend that any hazmat you guys have, always have your safety data sheets there and available at all times.
Yep.
Thank you.
Anybody else wishing to speak in debate? Senator Lipner?
I kind of want to echo what the other two senators have said, but kind of speak on it in a little bit more of a statutory sense. Within our statute, specifically 826.3M, it states that any item deemed hazardous or dangerous according to UCF policy 3-107.2 on procurement, use, and possession of hazardous materials and regulated devices or equipment would then be considered not fundable under the Senate Working Fund. And so for that reason, I'll be voting in negation of this bill.
All right. Anybody else wishing to speak in debate? Seeing none, we are now in voting procedure. With a vote count of 38 to 6 to 2, fiscal bill 5734 passes second reading. Thank you. Next, we have fiscal bill 5736, funding for 15 members of the Pre-Medical American Medical Student Association to travel to the MedLife Service Learning Trip at San Jose, Costa Rica from March 14th, 2026 to March 22nd. Senator Challen is not here, so OCRT Chair Sherman.
I will yield the RSO if they're here. Yep.
Okay. RSO.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Savannah Messer, and I'm currently serving as the Surgeon at Arms for the Pre-Medical American Medical Student Association. One of my main responsibilities that I have as Surgeon at Arms is to plan our service trip for our members, and this year we're planning on going to San Jose, Costa Rica from March 14th to March 22nd, 2026. So AMSA is one of the largest pre-health student organizations here on campus and one of the only pre-medical focused. So we are dedicated to providing our pre-medical students with opportunities to becoming successful and well-rounded medical school applicants. One of these being the annual service trip. So we are planning to go on the service trip through MedLife International, and the main purpose of this trip would be to shadow their local physicians, help set up mobile clinics, and gain knowledge about healthcare on a global scale. During the service trips, our members will learn how to have cultural influence, how cultural influences an individual's view on healthcare, as well as bring the knowledge gained to help and support a diverse.
Chair Chow, point of preference, can we try to fix the mic before continuing on with the speech time?
I don't know how to fix it. Sure.
Madam Speaker, I just prefer if you just try to adjust the microphone up there and not speak so close to it. I think that would help a lot, unless there's another microphone on as well.
You're just not here.
So one of the our members will also bring the knowledge gained to help and support a diverse UCF student body. So I have been on 2 service trips in the past, and I have found that we were able to, like I mentioned before, learn from and work with local healthcare providers, learn about specific healthcare topics that affect the local communities, apply knowledge gained from classes at UCF in a different clinical setting, and help educate communities about different healthcare topics. So as far as the applied knowledge gained from classes, we had a patient who had a certain disease that I later learned about in pathophysiology. These are some of the photos that I've had in recent trips. The photo over here, that was us educating the children in the communities about how to properly brush their teeth. So these are just some of the highlights from the trips. And as far as the cost breakdown goes, the registration is $2,090 per member for a total of 15 members. So this will bring us to $31,350. Some of the highlights that I would like to include in the cost breakdown is the materials and resources that are needed for the mobile clinic, as well as the accommodations. So the hotel costs are included in the registration fee. As far as travel goes, it's roughly $900 per member, so it brings the total to $13,500. Now this price may vary since we are pretty far out away from the trip. So, and we are requesting roughly $22,400. And that is all.
Okay, we are now in a period of questioning. Senator Lipner,
Two, if I may.
you may.
First off, can you explain how you found MedLife as an organization and chose them as the service learning trip?
Yeah, so previous Sergeant at Arms have used MedLife in the past, and I have, like I mentioned before, gone on 2 MedLife service trips, and I enjoyed it.
And your second question?
Can you explain why you chose a trip that was 8 days long as opposed to something that may have been shorter or less expensive?
The organization for MedLife, they offer 8 days.
Any other questions for the RSO? Senator Lim?
How do you plan on covering your half of the bill?
Our members will cover the other half.
All right, any other questions for this RSO? Seeing none, we are now in a period of debate. I see there are amendments on the bill. Just a second. That is Dela Kaufman. So does anybody want to take those? Chair Sherman.
I'd be happy just to represent it. I haven't spoken to Dela Kaufman, so I don't know exactly why he's made the change. But it looks like the flights have gone to $1,431, and this would change the total cost to reflect that. Although I'll note that with or without the amendment, the RSO is receiving $21,840. So we could maybe just wait until Dela Kaufman. Oh, I guess he's not going to be here next week either. Or at least find out from him, because I don't know exactly why he's made the change. But I yield my time.
Okay, we are now in a period of questioning. Are there any questions on these amendments? Seeing none, we are now in a period of debate. Is there any debate on these amendments? Chair Gaudion.
I move to approve these amendments.
There's been a motion to approve these amendments by general consent. Any objections? Hearing none, these amendments have been approved. We are still in debate on the bill as a whole. Are there any other pieces of debate? Can you remind me of your last name one more time?
Makdia.
Senator Makdia.
I'm a part of Pre-Med AMSA, and I personally know a lot of people, including Savannah, who have gone on this service trip. And I believe it provides a lot of insight on how different communities use medicine. And this information has been able to help so many more people. And I believe that it's for a good cause and that it would provide a lot of insight for the students here at AMSA and UCF. And I believe everyone should vote in favor of this bill.
All right, anybody else wishing to speak in debate? If not, we are now in voting procedures. Okay, with a vote count of 47 to 1 to 0, Fiscal Bill 5736 passes second reading. Next, we have Fiscal Bill 5739, funding for 27 members of the Institute of Electrical and Electronic Engineers at UCF to travel to the IEEE SouthCon 2026 in Huntsville, Alabama from March 12, 2026 to March 16, 2026. Vice Chair Trevor Hernandez, you have 5 minutes whenever you're ready.
Can I motion to amend speech time to 8 minutes?
There's been a motion to extend speech time to 8 minutes.
Seconded.
The second, any objections? Hearing none, speech time has been updated to being 8 minutes. So
I yield to the RSO.
Okay, RSO, you may come up whenever you're ready.
No. Okay. Okay. So we're IEEE and this is Southeast Con. You'd introduced us, so we're going to go to the next slide, at least on mine. That's the agenda. So yeah, next slide. So IEEE, it's the Institute of Electrical and Electronic Engineers, as she said. We're the largest electrical and computer engineering DSSO on campus. Alongside this, keep going? Okay. Alongside this, what's it called? We mainly do workshops. We're a professional development organization. Basically, we do workshops, projects, professional development events where we invite companies to talk, do like one-on-ones and stuff like that, as well as we do a lot of socials and such like that. We're part of the national the national organization, which is a basically industry leader or industry organization that sets a lot of the standards in computing, as well as a lot of other things like that. So, next slide. It's your turn now.
All right, and then Southeast Com, which is what we're trying to get funding for. We've been there, been going, I think it's at least the last few years that we've been going there. Last four. So we've been going there for a while. It's going to be basically you go there. There's a bunch of different style competitions. You have the hardware competition, which is the biggest one, where you have a physical robot that we work on from like the summer all the way to the day of the conference. And then there's other competitions in there for other members, such as like ethics, talking about like the ethics of engineering. There's software and competitions such as that, as well as there's also networking opportunities for people to be able to grow themselves. Whoops, there you go. So last year we were able to send 22 people. We sent half those people for the robot, and then the other people competed in the other competitions. There's some overlap, hence why the numbers don't add up to 22. And as I said, there's varying different competitions, and there's different skill sets that are tested in each of those competitions. We were able to win overall in first place for the design of our robot, and second place in the actual competition of the robot. And then two of our members, which were our vice president and president last year, placed first and third in the networking, which is just like talking to as many different individuals at the competition, trying to gain as many connections as possible. This year, we're trying to send 27 people. It would be, we'll talk about who those people actually will be, but we're just trying to send more this year, give that, IEEE is a pretty big organization, so I think it's valuable to be able to send more people each year if possible. The cost breakdown is going to be, is shown up there. There's basically half that's going towards the hotel, half that's going to registration, adds up to $7,002, going out to $260 a person. Registration is $3,240, which is just 120 times 27. And then there is the hotels. We have 6 different hotel rooms, each with 4 people in it. We're going to be there from Thursday night, Friday night, and Saturday night, driving over on Wednesday. Driving over Wednesday night, arriving there Thursday morning, and then leaving Sunday morning. The other hotel room will be given by our president, who will have himself and 2 other members. Hence why that doesn't add up to 27. Our attendees will be we'll go into our office first. We have 13 officers, so it'll be going to them first. After that, it will be 12 people who are working on the hardware team, which can be consisting of just mechanical people, electrical people, and software people. And then after that, anything else that needs to be filled up will be filled by committee members, people who are just like right underneath officers, people who also devote a lot of their time to the club. And they put a lot of work in. If need be, if officers aren't able to go, or if other committee members aren't able to attend them, then we have plenty of people to replace them. We're a biggish organization. I know there will be people chomping at the bit to go because it's a very fun experience. And then, as I said, at the end of the day, it really is just something that's really fun to do. I went 2 years ago. Yusuf went last year. It's a great way to connect with all of our fellow members, and it's a nice payoff to be able to, especially for like something like the hardware team where you're working on it all year. You see your robot and you're getting that little time scramble at the end there to try and get the robot to work, because it was working before the competition, but when we actually got there, it ended up not working. So, and then on top of that, of course, there's the upside of it being good for developing yourself professionally. But yeah, that's about it.
All right, we are now in period of questioning. Are there any questions for the RSO, Senator Lubner?
Move to vote. Second.
Okay, there's been a motion to move to wait. There's amendments on the page. They'll be seen as technical. There's been a motion to move to vote. And a second, any objections? Hearing none, we are now in voting procedures. Okay, with a vote count of 46 to 0, Fiscal Bill 5739 passes second reading. Senator Lipner,
Motion to recess for 10 minutes.
it's 15 minutes. I was going to motion to recess and we'd come back at 9:10.
I'll amend to that.
Senator Gaudio?
I move to recess for 20 minutes.
There's been a motion to recess for 20 minutes and a second. Any objections? Hearing none, we will come back at 9 o'clock. reports. ENA Committee Chair Chow.
Good evening, Senate. Today, we didn't see any confirmations. For Internal Bill 5717, we made a motion to retain the bill until the next committee meeting because I'm still meeting with Shane, Chantel, and Election Commission leadership on Monday and possibly Wednesday to continue reworking and discussing extensively on the bill. So during our first meeting, I made sure to take some notes. I do apologize if they're a little incomprehensive. However, those are the specific notes and changes that we'll possibly be implementing in the future. Not only that, but we continue to work on our new Title VI rehaul document. We worked through Chapter 604, 605, 606, and 607. And then not only that, but everyone in my wonderful committee, please fill out the when to meet for spring availability. That's going to be in the Teams chat. Please go ahead, check my announcements. Thank you very much.
Any questions for the ENA Committee Chair? Seeing none. GAP Committee Chair Varela.
Hello, Senate. GAP is proceeding smoothly. We briefed 11 bills today. Also want to let you all know, I've already informed GAP, but GAP will be meeting in some capacity over the winter break, just so we can stay on top of all the political news and legislation coming out of Tallahassee, because that is going to be a very active time in the legislature, and I feel like we'll be very far behind and thus not be able to put on a good day at the Capitol if we end up not meeting over the winter. Just want to let you all know about that. Also, just wanted to tell you all, as we enter the 37th day of the longest government shutdown in U.S. history, I implore each and every one of you to serve your communities in any way you can, whether it be donating to a food pantry or spending time to inform your friends and constituents on how to stay safe and healthy during this time. Finally, GAP chose not to sponsor Proclamation 5714 by a vote of 4 to 9 to 0.
Any questions for the GAP Committee Chair? Seeing none. LJR Committee Chair Gaudia.
Good evening, everybody. Not much news this week, just absences. You may look at our votes down below. We also decided our spring meeting time will be Monday at 4 p.m. This is not absolutely finalized, pending other committees, but this is the time we are likely to meet at. So if any of you are interested, there you go.
Any questions for the LJR Committee Chair? Seeing none. SBA Committee Total Rescue.
Hello, Senate. This week, SBA tabled at Rosen at the Mental Health Awareness Fair. I'm so excited about the turnout today. It was an absolutely fantastic event. Huge shout out to Senator Matthews on her collaboration on this, as well as Speaker Quartz for all of her help. Last meeting, SBA was fully in costume. The photo is in the photo circle if y'all want to see our fits. Proclamation 5714 was passed on first reading with a vote of 12-0-1.
Any questions for the SBA Committee Chair? Seeing none. Internal legislation, notice of legislation on first reading. Internal Bill 5721, remanded to LJR. Internal Bills 5722, 23, 24, 25, 26, remanded to ENA. 5727, remanded to LJR. 5728, remanded to LJR. And then Internal Bill 5729, remanded to ENA. Proclamation 5715, remanded to SBA. Notice of legislation on third reading. First, we have Internal Bill 5716, updates to Title IX general updates. Chair Chow, you have 5 minutes whenever you're ready.
So once again, when it comes to the specific internal bill, it's updating Title IX to allow the Election Commission to go ahead and discipline their own members by adding the election rules and procedures. Not only that, but there was an amendment made last time in order to go ahead and add the judicial rules of procedures because we wanted to also hold the judicial branch accountable. Not only that, but in terms of 901G, we continued with jurisdiction limited to the election statutes and the election proceedings because once again, they are under Title VI, and we implemented that language onto the Election Commission as well in order to go ahead and reflect that because once again, they are under Title VI in that regard. I yield the rest of my time.
Okay, we're now in a period of questioning. Are there any questions? Chair Brewer.
To your knowledge, is there any other set of rules that binds another branch that wouldn't be in this bill? That wouldn't be included in like the statutes for non-compliance?
So I do apologize if I'm misconstruing your question, but I do know that like it's noted already in the original UCF statutes that we can also be held to non-compliance for our Senate rules if we don't comply with them.
Any other questions? See, Senator Lipner.
I guess just kind of piggyback on Chair Varela's question. Do you know if there's any kind of similar accountability measures for the executive branch?
I'm not exactly aware.
All right, any other questions? Seeing none, we are now in a period of debate. Are there any pieces of debate on this legislation? Senator Lipner?
I didn't see his hand go up, so I'll motion to see Chair Gaudio's amendment.
There's been a motion to see Chair Gaudio's amendments. In a second, any objections? Hearing none, Chair Gaudio, you have 2 minutes whenever you're ready.
All righty, folks. So those of us who were here heard the speech of the Chief Justice earlier, but for those of us who were not, I will give a brief recap. In essence, the judicial rules of procedure are an internal set of rules that the Judicial Council has agreed upon and placed upon themselves. They're wholly internal, and by allowing them to be non-compliant in this fashion, it allows other branches to impose themselves upon the judicial branch, which is supposed to be an impartial force within the student government. And I personally believe that that independence should be respected. The judicial rules of procedure has mechanisms in it by which the justices can discipline themselves for violations of it. And we can write into Title V. Title V automatically supersedes the JRP. So if we have concerns such as that, we can amend Title V. So I do not see the reason for this. I yield.
All right, we are now in a period of questioning. Vice Chair Wanjin.
Is there a reason you don't think the rest of student government should be able to hold the judicial branch accountable to their own policies if they refuse to do so?
Point of order, did you say present voting already?
No, I forgot. Present and voting.
Okay, Vice Chair Wanjin, present and voting, so noted at 9:15 p.m. You may continue.
That was the end of my question.
Okay.
So because these are rules that the judicial branch has placed upon themselves and primarily governs how a hearing is conducted, I don't believe that we should have oversight in that. If we truly have a concern with that, again, we can change Title V and they have no say in that. And so I don't see this as necessary.
All right, any other questions? Chair Sherman, and then I'll go Chair.
So I may be misinterpreting the current statutes, but could a justice not non-compliance a senator for not following Senate rules?
Individual justices cannot issue notifications of noncompliance. It would have to be the Judicial Council as a whole or the Chief Justice. And yes, they could, but I believe that is a separate discussion. I believe that if we wish to take Senate rules out of Title IX as well to make it co-equal, I believe that is a separate discussion and amendment that should be made.
All right, any other questions? Chair Varela?
3, if I may.
You may.
First question is, to your knowledge, is there any other set of rules that govern student government other than JRP or other than would be the JRP, if you understand? If this amendment passes, other than JRP, that an agent could not be held in noncompliance over.
Be advised, there is about 45 seconds left in
UCF
questioning.
UCF policies.
Your second question.
Motion to extend question time for 2 minutes.
There's been a motion to extend questioning time by 2 minutes and a second. Any objections? Hearing none, questioning time has been extended by 2 minutes.
Yes, second question, is there any other set of rules other than JRP passed by student government agents that does not have any legislative oversight?
Could you reiterate the question? I apologize.
Yeah, is there any other set of rules passed by student government agents to govern ourselves that does not have any sort of legislative oversight other than JRP?
Amendments to the Constitution, student body constitution, can be made without input from the student body Senate, as well as referendum elections.
My third question is, can you point to a section in student body statutes, the student body constitution, where the judicial council can derive their rulemaking authority to create their own judicial rules and procedures?
So the student body constitution outlines that the judicial rules of procedure exist. It doesn't directly, I'm going to read through it one more time. Yeah, it doesn't directly say that the judicial branch has the, unrestricted ability to determine them. However, if the discussion is, should we have oversight over the JRP? Again, I believe that is a separate discussion.
Are there any other questions on this amendment? Seeing none, we are now in a period of debate. Are there any pieces of debate on this amendment? Chair Barillo, and then D-Cert Pinos.
I believe that I was in favor of keeping the JRP on the non-compliance list in the past, and generally I think that I'm still for that, but I just wanted to bring the same issues I brought at the last meeting, which was that technically in the Constitution or in any of our governing documents, there is no authority for the council to maintain and uphold their own rules and procedures. And when I think that they should be able to do that, that's kind of common governing practice. It is a bit strange that that doesn't exist. So I think, hopefully this bill can cause a larger dialogue on how we want to have the JRP exist and how the Judicial Council should go about amending their own JRP and stuff like that, and kind of where we should put that authority in statutes, the Constitution, stuff like that, about the JRP. But in terms of being held in over non-compliance, I still think it's just a bit strange to have the JRP, if this amendment passes, be the only student government agent passed set of rules that you can't be held in non-compliance over. I understand the idea of judicial independence, but ideally, there should be no issues of independence if you're following the rules you pass for yourselves. It's not like we have any say in the rules they pass for themselves. So if you're unable to follow rules that you pass for yourselves, I think that is perfectly fair for someone else to step in and say, hey, please, can you follow your own rules? Especially because they have such degree of levity in what their rules are. I don't think this would erode independence whatsoever. So that is why I will be against this amendment.
D-Cert Pinos.
I'll try to keep it brief. I'm for the amendment. I think that it is an oversight of our power to say that they can't have the governing rules within themselves, because I know that it's a separate entity within their branch. And what's to say that if we pass this, that we can't have something similar for the executive branch or other parts of our student government agents? I do want to say that I agree with some of the sentiments that you're making. I think that it's true that we should. I agree with Chair Vowell. I think that some of the sentiments that he's making is correct in upholding manner, and saying that they should be held accountable for the rules that they make for themselves. But I don't think that it is our jurisdiction to be able to decide what those rules are, especially when we already have titles in statutes that are for that purpose. Referencing back to Title V, that we have things that we have put in place for ourselves to uphold that, and they have internal procedures to go with that as well for themselves, to hold themselves accountable. So I agree in keeping the amendment. So I'm for Gadia's amendment. Thank you. You have my time.
All right. I will go Chair Chow, Vice Chair Wanjin, and then Senator Escobar.
Personally, I would have to lean more in negation in terms of Chair Gaudio's amendment, simply because in Title V, it looks like in 505 or 505.8, the judicial branch is already expected to adhere to all rules outlined in the judicial rules of procedures. So with that in mind, I don't exactly see necessarily how it would be harmful for us as a branch to also expect them to uphold the rules that they have made for themselves. If they're already expected to do that in Title V, I don't see how that would cause any significant harm if it's already noted in our statutes, which is why I have to lean more in negation to this amendment.
Vice Chair Wanjin.
I do want to clarify for the General Senate body that this has nothing to do with Senate's oversight over the JRP and whether or not we're going to impose some amount of regulation on what can be written there. The judicial branch still has full power, with or without this amendment, to write their own judicial rules of procedure. I do think that if they're going to have a governing document like this, especially publicly available on the website for students to be able to see, that sort of thing, we should all expect them to follow those rules. And that means that I think everyone in student government should be able to hold them accountable, whether the people who are able to issue a notification of noncompliance or those who are, or anybody who can file a notification of censure. So I am strongly in opposition to this amendment. I think it's very important that we can all hold each other accountable to our governing documents, and that includes the JRP.
Okay, Senator Escobar.
I want to echo what Senator Wanjan and Chair Varela has stated. I'll be against this amendment. I think we should be able to non-compliance a justice if they're not adhering to the JRP. Also, I do have some concerns with the justices who are meant to be impartial acting as advocates and saying they will go to the president to ask for a veto when they are meant to be impartial. So I have concerns with that as well, but I'll be voting in negation.
All right, with 3 in negation, are there any in affirmation? Seeing none, we are now in voting procedures on the amendment. Okay, with a vote count of 10 to 37 to 1, these amendments do not pass. We are still in debate on the bill as a whole. Are there any other pieces of debate? Chair Varela, Senator Badash, Chair Rickett.
Motion to vote.
There's been a motion to vote.
Second.
And a second.
Object. I
Okay.
withdraw.
Okay, so we are still in debate. Anybody wishing to speak in debate? Chair Rickett.
I move to have the Attorney General provide his legal opinion on the matter if he so chooses.
There's been a motion for a non-member to speak, that being the Attorney General, and a second. Any objections? Hearing none. AG Altoona.
In order to fully explain why I believe this, I would have to write an opinion. So if you want, you can make that request, and I'll more fully explain why I believe this. But I agree with Chair Gaudio. I believe that the Judicial Council should remain independent from the student body statutes. Through the JRP, we already have a portion of the statutes, as mentioned before, that made sure that the Judicial Council already abides by the JRP. And so I believe that it would be in the best interest of separation of powers in student government to be able to allow for the Judicial Council to have control and more speedy and efficient access to amend the JRP.
Okay, Vice Chair Wanjan.
May I ask a clarifying question to the Attorney General?
You may.
You mentioned amending the JRP. How is that relevant to this when we're talking about just enforcing the judicial rules of procedure through non-compliances and censures?
So I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe that by adding the JRP under the student body statutes, it would force the Judicial Council to come to the student body Senate when amending, and then Dr. Frame.
Vice Chair Wanjan.
May I direct a question to the author of this bill and the LJR chair?
You may.
Does anything in this piece of legislation require the judicial branch to get the JRP amendments approved by Senate?
No, the ERP, at least for like the elections rules and procedures, that's specifically noted in Title VI. However, the JRP has nothing, like we have nothing in notes of Senate being able to basically have, basically we have like no discretion over the JRP needing to go through Senate and being approved.
LJR Chair, do you have anything to add to that?
Nope.
Okay. We are still in debate on this bill as a whole. Chair Varela,
May I retain?
you may.
Yeah. The notion of like separation of powers came up, and I will say that the legislative branch is the oversight branch. Our job is to oversee, make sure things are, running as properly. And again, it just will be strange to me, speaking of the JRP specifically, there would be one piece of set of rules that you can't be held in non-compliance over, passed by student government agents, that being the JRP. That just seems not super cohesive and consistent to me. So I just think it's easier to lump everything in. And then speak on the bill as a whole, I think it's overall good. I think that the ERP, like the JRP, should be included, because I think there's any set of rules that SG agents pass for themselves, there has to be, something with real power holding it accountable. Because technically the judicial council could choose to or not to enforce their own JRP. Literally no one can stop them. That is their whole choice. And I don't think it's good when you can choose to not follow your rules, and that's perfectly okay. And no one can do anything about it besides impeachment, right? I think we all know here that non-compliance is much easier to deal with than the whole impeachment proceeding. And I would really, in the future, hopefully this never happens, but in the future, if someone forgets about a rule, the only way to account for that would be a censure or an impeachment, and we all know that's not fun. So just non-compliance isn't the craziest thing that ever happened to somebody. Just please follow the rules you set for yourself. So that, counts for JRP, ERP, Senate rules, Senate statutes, Constitution, everything. So it is just good for any set of rules to be non-complianceable. And with that, move the vote.
There's been a motion to vote and a second.
I
Any
object.
objections?
I withdraw.
Okay. Senator Lipner.
All right. I could be wrong, but I think we're in a circular argument at this point where the student body statutes already state that the justices have to be beholden to the judicial rule of procedure. And so therefore they could already be given a non-compliance notification based on our statutes. And therefore, I don't think we need to add these two lines at all, and I'll be voting in negation.
Vice Chair Wanjin.
Repetition isn't a problem. Move to vote.
Okay, there's been a motion to move to vote. Senator Rodriguez. He's already been allowed to speak. Do you have a question for him? You may.
With that clarification in mind, I understand why a non-compliance would make sense, and for the JRP to be added in that. But as Senator Lipner said, I think that's a circular argument, but I leave it up to the decision of the body and the consensus of the body. Again, Senator Wanjin does make a good point that repetition is not necessarily bad. But I just do want to keep in mind my earlier point about making sure that we're not over legislating and overreaching. We want to make sure that our branches are able to act in their own respective roles. And so I just want to make sure that the Judicial Council can still have jurisdiction over their own rules.
All right, seeing no other hands, we are now in voting procedures. All right, with a vote count of 29 to 19 to 0, Internal Bill 5716 passes third reading. Next, we have 5718, updates to Title 8, handling overages. Chair Rose, you have 5 minutes whenever you're ready.
So basically, this just makes it so that RSOs and individuals who are in debt to the business office are not able to receive more funding from us. Nothing has changed since last time.
All right, we're now in part of questioning. Are there any questions? Yusuf Pinos?
Motion move to debate.
There's been a motion to move to debate. And a second, any objections? Seeing none. Okay. Yusuf Pinos?
Seeing that this is passed 41 to 0 to 1 on second reading, I motion to pass this legislation by general consent of the body.
There's been a motion to pass this bill by general consent. Are there any objections? Seeing none. Next, we have Resolution 5709, updates Senate Rule 8, absence policy revisions. Chair Gaudio, you have 5 minutes whenever you're ready.
I yield to Senator Matthews.
Senator Matthews, you have the floor.
Nothing has changed since the last time you wrote this.
All
I yield my
we're-
time.
We are now in a period of questioning. Are there any questions on this resolution? Vice Chair Hernandez.
Move to vote.
There's been a motion to move to vote.
Second.
In a second, any objections? Seeing none, we are now in voting procedures. Okay, with a vote count of 46 to 1 to 0, Resolution 5709 passes third reading. Chair Varela.
Motion to withdraw my amendment from Proclamation 5713.
So withdraw your proclamation.
Withdraw my amendment to the proclamation.
Can we wait till we get to the proclamation? We are in notice. Oh, we are in. It's still in notice of legislation on second reading. No, you're not. Don't say that. Notice of legislation on second reading, Internal Bill 5717, updates to Title VI. That will not be seen. That was also retained in committee anyway, so we will not be seeing that. Internal Bill 5719, updates to Title VIII, hotel reimbursement requirement. Chair Sherman, you have 5 minutes whenever you're ready.
Yeah, this bill very simply requires that if somebody, an individual or an RSO, is requesting funding for lodging through CRT, then unless they are unable to pay for the full cost of the hotel, then they must do it through a reimbursement rather than having the business office purchase it themselves. This is because I've heard from Fong in the business office that this is a more difficult process to go through than the equivalent process for registration and for travel. He said that, because the business office, obviously, if they're purchasing it themselves, it may be under a different name. And so I've heard of a situation when an RSO went to check into their hotel on a weekend and it wasn't under their name. They said, you don't have a room here. Obviously, they couldn't call the business office because it was the weekend. So this was very heavily requested by the business office. So I figured I'd at the very least put it forward to see what you all thought of it. There is no clause right now that sort of establishes, the reimbursements versus the business office payments. So I did just add a very quick sentence to clarify that before saying that lodging purchases have to be reimbursed. And then, of course, if the RSO or the individual says, I can't pay for it, then we won't hold them to that and they'll be able to go through the current process. This would just be to ease the sort of strain on the business office in those situations where the individual or RSO is able to pay for the hotel themselves upfront and then be reimbursed afterwards. I yield my time.
All right, we're now in a period of questioning. Are there any questions? Chair Gaudio, Chair Varela, Vice Chair Wanjin.
Has the business office said that they will update the financial training web courses to reflect this change if passed?
That's not something that I've spoken to them about, and I actually appreciate you bringing that up. And I can, between second and third reading, talk to Fong to make sure that they plan on doing that. I'm actually not sure kind of how it works, amending that in between years. And if that's something that they're not able to do until the next one's released, I'll make sure to really harp on that in CRT to make sure that the people know that that's our new policy. And of course, the business office, when they send out their emails, they'll amend those as well to make sure that people are aware beforehand.
Chair Varela,
If I may.
you may.
First question: how would a RSO be able to demonstrate to the committee that they are unable to pay the hotel fee upfront?
Yeah, I did think about this a lot, and I didn't want it to be a sort of like really strict, like show me your bank account or anything like that. As long as they say like we really can't pay for it, I'm envisioning no more than that, just to say, okay, we won't require you to pay it up front. This could be something like an added column in our tracker just to have like a check mark. Yeah, I actually like that amendment. Just a very informal process, but for the people that have no issue paying for it, this will make it a lot easier for the business office.
Your second question.
Yeah, and second question would be, if this bill is passed, will CRT allow, and once it's signed, will CRT allow a grace period for RSOs as we're still in the process of educating on this new policy where the ACNF office / UT won't deny funds that will not be reimbursed, but through the normal way of procuring hotel?
Yeah, I'd certainly be willing to let that happen or to make that happen. I really don't think this is, again, not a hard and fast requirement at all, just a very informal requirement to the RSO's ability. And so for the first couple of months, or as I said, even until the next financial training is released, if this is something that can't really go into effect every time, as long as it can happen a couple times, that it still helps. And then once the financial training can get updated and then it sort of people become more aware of it, then to be enforced a little more strictly. But again, if they say they can't do it, then we just won't hold them to it. It's nothing strict.
Any other questions? Chair-Rolla, you have another question?
Yeah, as a follow-up.
Yes.
You said that it's like not like a super hard rule. But you use the language must in the bill. Would you then prefer the language prefer a reimbursement, or would must capture the spirit of the bill more?
I guess when I say it's not a strict requirement, I mean that we would be very lenient in allowing them to demonstrate or to communicate, as the amendment says that they can't pay it. But once they sort of say like, yes, we can, I would hope that they'd be able to then. And I suppose unless they come back to us or they come to the business office, come to me and say, we can no longer do it, then I guess that would change. But if they do not have an objection to paying it themselves, then I suppose this would require them to do so unless they communicate a change.
All right. Any other questions? Chair Lipner?
In cases where lodging makes up more than 50% of the costs for a bill, do you foresee this requirement of a reimbursement model potentially resulting in more difficulty by the business office to ensure that funding is reimbursed properly?
I suppose I would just say that if it would be made that much more difficult, then if the RSO is aware that it would be more difficult, then they would just ask that they be able to have the business office pay for it. I'm almost certain that most of the time, in the current state of things, that these costs are being reimbursed anyways, because the business office does kind of informally push them towards that option. I don't know that a reimbursement in any scenario is more difficult than the business office paying outright, because it's purely just showing the receipt to the business office after the conference and then just being cut a check for that amount.
Chair Lipner?
And then this is just a more general question from your experiences as chair when we're working with RSOs and students. Have you had a number of students already be concerned or confused about the funding processes and whether reimbursements were allowed? And how have you gone about communicating that with them throughout the process of this year?
Yeah, there certainly has been confusion. I would say the main source of that is because the form currently says that we cannot take reimbursements pre-CRT and pre-business office approval. And I think that may be taken to mean sometimes that we don't do reimbursements at all. And I've certainly communicated in whenever people ask about that, I've made sure to be very clear that we are able to do reimbursements only after the business office authorizes that purchase. It may take a clarification on the form if this bill goes through, just to be very clear and say that we can do reimbursements after business office approval. I'll probably also update the form just to say on the hotel part, we ask that you reimburse it unless you can't, just so that we can know ahead of time whether or not they're able to do that option.
Your questioning time has elapsed. Is there a motion? Chair Hernandez?
Motion to amend total questioning time by 5 minutes, like 15 minutes of questioning time.
There's been a motion to amend total questioning time from 10 minutes to 10 minutes to 15 minutes. Is there a second? Any objections? Hearing none. Questioning time, we have 5 minutes left, I suppose. Any other questions? Chair Gaudio.
Move to debate.
There's been a motion to move to debate. And a second. Any objections? Hearing none, we are now in debate. Vice Chair Wanjin, did you make that amendment?
Yeah, move to see my amendment.
Okay, there's been a motion to see Vice Chair Wanjin's amendment. And a second. Any objections? Hearing none, you have a minute.
This just updates the language from the word demonstrates to communicates so that there's not a theoretical something the RSO needs to provide, like bank statements or something like that.
All right, we're now in a period of questioning. Are there any questions, Senator Lipner?
Motion to approve this amendment.
There's been a motion to approve this amendment by general consent. Any objections? Hearing none, this amendment is approved by general consent. We are still in debate over the bill as a whole. Are there any others wishing to speak in debate? Senator Escobar?
I mean, this looks good. It clarifies things, clarifies the process, and allows for like RSOs to know that they can be reimbursed, and also is in line with what the business office finds convenient as well.
All right, Chair Gaudio?
Move to vote.
There's been a motion to move to vote. In a second, any objections? Hearing none, we are now in voting procedures. With a vote count of 45 to 0 to 1, Internal Bill 5719 passes second reading. Next, we have Internal Bill 5720, updates to Title 8 Conference Definitions. Chair Sherman, you have 5 minutes whenever you're ready.
All right, so this bill arose out of a sort of necessity to clarify our policies on fiscal bills specifically, then specifically the recommendation from the Attorney General and the Student Body President to update the definition of a conference. So that being said, there are 3 main purposes for this bill. The first one is to clarify that definition. I think we should really get back to the plain meaning of a conference as like an external congregational forum rather than a self-organized trip. Obviously, CRT receives enough requests throughout the course of the year to approve only traditional conferences. So I think we should start with that and only do that. This also fixes the last clause, which has been sort of used as a catch-all in the past, because really, if you kind of strip down the definition, currently it's an in-person gathering of professionals that enhances your personal development, which can be interpreted really very broadly. And so specifying the means to the end of enhancing your personal development, I think is going to remove a lot of the current ambiguity. The second purpose is to hold fiscal bills to the same sort of definitional standard as allocations are currently held. Right now, an allocation must first be a conference broadly, and then it also has to fit one of our 6 allocation conference types. A fiscal bill only needs to be a conference broadly, and so I think it's only fair that it should fit that same standard when in fact usually they're requesting like 10 times more funding or even more than that. And so this bill simply requires fiscal bill requests to justify a conference's adherence to one of the 6 funding types that we already have established for allocations. I'm of the opinion that that's an exhaustive list, so I don't think that should be a problem for those that are requesting. And then the third purpose of this bill is to carve out exceptions to the new conference definition for those allocation and now fiscal bill types that already don't fit the current definition. The observational research and service trip categories don't necessarily meet the current definition of a conference, and the committee has historically recognized the value of them regardless and has continued to fund them even if they don't strictly adhere to it. And so all this bill does is the observational research allocation definition already has the word non-traditional in it. This would now add the non-traditional call out to service trips as well. And then just to clarify at the bottom, say that non-traditional trips don't have to adhere to the conference definition, are to be evaluated independently just on the definition that's provided for that specific conference type. So on the whole, I think these amendments are sort of responsibly holding fiscal bill requests to a bit of a higher standard, and also just maintaining consistency with past CRT precedent as well as the current statutes. I yield my time.
All right, we are now in a period of questioning. Are there any questions? Senator Rickett, DeSercapinos.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I have a scenario for you. If there is a military affiliated RSO that they wanted to go to Pearl Harbor, Hawaii, and actually see the remnants of the USS Arizona on December 7th, would they be able to get funding? Would that be considered something the CRT could fund?
Yeah, I would call that a site tour. That's been an area of contention. I would say we in the past did not fund a site tour for an engineering aviation RSO to tour MCO International Airport. They wanted very similar to in the hypothetical Pearl Harbor, just go around and see that, and that's obviously relevant to their major. The committee denied that trip, but the fiscal bill for various theme parks that was done to tour those sites was approved.
So that's very much a gray area. Under the current definition, there's an amendment to take it out, but I would say that would not be fundable just because the requirement that it be independent and not contingent on the organization of the RSO. So obviously, if a military group were to say, we're going to organize this trip to go see Pearl Harbor, obviously that's not independently organized. So under the current the bill definition, that would not be fundable.
Right. Hold on, someone next, Anna. These are Kuna's going.
I just want to ask for clarification for when you say non-traditional trips, do you feel, and you said that this would help with precedent that's been set in the past with CRT, do you think that that constitutes too much of a gray area of opening up to many things to be considered? Like you said with the precedent of the response that you just gave, how one was funded for theme parks, but the other was denied with the sightseeing. Could you just elaborate on that for me?
Yeah, so I'll say that that's kind of the ambiguity that you're referencing is the current sort of way of things. This year we funded a Masters of Film student to go to Ecuador to interview chocolate farmers to make a documentary. That's not an in-person gathering of professionals or scholars. And we funded it because it's an observational research trip, which was currently classified as non-traditional. And so we recognize the value of that. So I don't know that this necessarily creates a gray area. It just sort of continues the precedent that an observational research trip and now a service trip need not adhere to the broader conference definition, whereas, say, a seminar and networking opportunity would have to.
Senator Rickett.
One of my next questions is, let's say an RSO wanted to go to the Walt Disney World Resort, but under the guise of a guided tour. So let's say they wanted to go to the Magic Kingdom and see an attraction like the Haunted Mansion, but they were being guided into a tour where they see one of the inner workings and actually kind of the behind the scenes and kind of get a more of a technical aspect. Or in another case, let's say they wanted to go to Disney University to receive training on the customer service representation when it comes to the resorts. Would that kind of meet more of this standard where you're trying to go to for CRT?
In both cases, I would say that's still not externally organized. Kind of getting back to the very vague sort of common meaning definition of a conference is a place where lots of people come together to, sort of engage or learn in the same sort of things. So if you're organizing that yourself, I don't know that it should necessarily be funded by CRT, just because with the volume of requests that we get every year and we run out of money before the end of the spring semester fairly regularly. I think we should prioritize those that are externally organized just because they likely would have a more tangible benefit to people. Not that self-organized trips don't have a tangible benefit, but I'd say that's harder to prove.
Right. Vice Chair Wajin.
Just to make sure my amendment isn't useless, is there somewhere in the conference definition that you think covers competitions, or is the amendment needed in order to properly cover that for conference competition stuff?
It's kind of, again, a gray area. I would hesitate to call a competition non-traditional, which is why I'm glad you didn't make the amendment to sort of add it to that category. I think you could probably justify an in-person gathering. I mean, you'd really kind of have to bend the definition, but an in-person gathering of professionals, presumably if you're competing, there's people that are judging you or you're doing something in a professional capacity. So, or if it's an academic competition, you can, call yourself a scholar if you're an expert on a certain thing. So I don't know that competitions are necessarily excluded from the conference definition. And obviously they've been funded in the past without a non-traditional call out. So in the past, I would imagine people have seen that as fitting as well.
Okay. Are there any other questions? Senator Green?
May I direct a question to the CRT chair?
Yes, he's the author of the bill.
Oh, thank you. So going back to the analogy that Chair Rickett gave of the USS Arizona visit, if the students in question, let's say they're all history majors, since that is of course of historical value to the United States, would that, technically speaking, also fit under the definition of a gathering of professionals and scholars in that context?
Yes, it would, I suppose. And then I guess the call out for not contingent upon the organization would then make that irrelevant because it would be contingent on the organization of the RSO in question. I would say that if they were attending to gain some sort of material knowledge to put towards an academic project, they could call it observational research and that'd be perfectly fine. Otherwise, I don't think I'd be comfortable calling that a seminar because it's not professional sessions as opposed to just a more general tour again. But if it were to turn into something tangible and academic, then it would be observational research. Otherwise, under this definition, it would not qualify.
All right. Seeing no other hands, we are now in a period of debate. Are there any pieces of debate on this bill? Senator Rickett.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I am voting in negation to this bill. I believe that students here at UCF should have the opportunity to go to expand, to do research, to do competitions, to go to conferences and travel, and they should have the spirit of when we're here to go to the things they want to go to and observe, or to acknowledge, or to do their research as well. I believe this is severely limiting what our students can do and where they can go. For instance, the Pearl Harbor example, many people don't know where Pearl Harbor is, and many people also don't know that directly next to the USS Arizona is the USS Missouri. Does anybody know what that is? It's the actual ship where the Japanese Empire surrendered. It's actually right next to the USS Arizona. World War II for the United States started on the Arizona and it ended on the Missouri, and they're right next to each other. If you had never been there, you would have never known that. They do have guided tours. You are there to learn, there to give your respects, and there to basically be around professionals who have worked on the USS Missouri, or who have worked for the Park Services and who work for the military. Those are just one small example on why I'm voting in negation. I believe students should have an opportunity to see different things so they can learn outside the letter of the word conference.
Okay. Senator Banesh, Senator Lipner.
I'll be voting in favor of this bill. I believe that some senators may be a little bit worried about the gray areas, but I don't know. I feel like it all just majorly depends on each CRT session and, what the RSO wants. I don't know. I feel like this is a pretty good thing to have in place. So I'll be voting in favor, and I encourage y'all to do the same. Don't be scared.
Senator Lipner.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I definitely want to agree with Chair Banesh's sentiments and kind of assuage some of Chair Brickett's concerns. I would argue that under current definitions that a trip without true academic research or conference-rooted purposes would not get funding even currently. And I think the situation you reference would probably not receive funding even under current statutes. But again, that's my own personal opinion. Overall, I believe that this really does a good job at clearing up a few of the incongruities that come as a result of bills not needing the same justification as allocations. Specifically looking at service trips, we've seen some service trips be bills that not necessarily meet these specific goals, but we're able to fund them anyways. So making sure that everything matches and is cleared up makes a lot of sense to me. So I'll be voting in favor.
Chair Vadia.
I would like to speak against this bill as the Student Body Senate has very broad discretion to decide how money should be spent or allocated on students or RSOs, because every request is different and not all of them are cut and dry. We need to be able to exercise our rational decision making when deciding who should and should not get money. The rate at which we go through money was brought up, but that's ultimately a decision that we have made. And we shouldn't be trying to, frankly, assign shapes to each request and then forcing those shapes into holes matching each shape. We should be exercising that broad decision, deciding what is best. How would the student body want this money to be spent? What is the best way for it to be spent. And I believe the best way to do that is not through trying to restrict it artificially, but rather to more seriously consider each individual bill that comes across us.
Vice Chair Wonjin?
I think fundamentally we need to just align Senate bills and allocations. So if this legislation does fail, I would expect to see somebody who voted against this legislation finding some way to allow allocations to go on the trips that have been described, because it's not particularly appropriate that at this current point in time, people can go on the sort of trip that that Rickett described, but if it's through a bill, but not through an allocation. So would like to highlight that.
Ally, Rudy?
I am also going to be voting in favor of this bill just because I do think that the line denoted as a non-traditional trip does include some of the discretion that the Senate can provide if they would like to, like the Chair Gaudio mentioned.
Okay. Chair Verla?
May I retain? Yeah, I'll be voting in favor of this bill just because I think it does provide needed clarity, and I actually appreciate the kind of statutory constraint it gives Senate, because I've always personally felt uncomfortable. I know many of my senators feel the same about deciding who deserves money, who doesn't. You know, I feel like that is very difficult decisions to make, and decisions that I feel like not all of us can make. Like, it's very different, you know, you deserve funding, you don't deserve funding, right? Those are decisions that I'm not sure Senate should be making, right? I think it's much more healthy for Senate to be making decisions on like what trips are eligible for funding, right? I've always had a philosophy that if you're eligible to receive funds, then you should receive funds, right? I think that the money belongs to the student body. We just make sure it's being spent properly, and this will give us a way to maybe retain some money, but also make sure that everyone who should properly get funds gets funds without deciding like this service trip has merit, this one doesn't, right? Because everything really has merit. So as long as it fits within our statutory constraints, everyone should get funded. And this is a good way to both keep some Senate discretion in funding some kind of not normal, not traditional trips, while also kind of limiting us so we're not blowing through all our money and without having the side like you go because this trip's better with vote.
There's no motion to move the vote. In a second, any objections? Hearing none, we are now in voting procedures. With a vote count of 40 to 6 to 1, Internal Bill 5720 passes second reading. Next, we have Proclamation 5713, Proclamation honoring the founding of the United States Marine Corps. Chair Rickett. Chair Verla.
I move to withdraw my amendment to Proclamation 5713.
There's been a motion to strike the amendment made to Proclamation 5713. In a second, any objections? Hearing none, it is hereby struck. Chair Rickett, you have 5 minutes whenever you're ready.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. November 10th, 1775, our United States Marine Corps was actually founded in Tun Tavern. There was an effort by the Continental Congress to defend itself against the British in an ongoing conflict, and 2 battalions of Marines were formed. And since that time, the United States Marine Corps has celebrated 250 years of proud service to the United States people. You about to respond time.
Okay. We are now in a period of questioning. Does anybody have any questions on this proclamation? Seeing none, we are now in a period of debate. Anybody wishing to speak in debate? Senator Zippin.
I don't know if you guys know this, but my grandpa was in the Navy, so I'll be voting in favor, and I encourage the body to do so as well.
Anybody else wishing to speak in debate? Senator Lipner.
Yeah, 250 years is a really long time, so it's incredible to see how far our country has come and our armed forces as well. I'll be voting in favor as well.
All right. Senator Matthews.
As a member of the Military and Veterans Caucus, the director of the Military and Veterans Success Center pointed out that he would like for us to make these proclamations for all the different branches. So I encourage everyone to vote in favor.
Okay, with 3 in affirmation, are there any in negation? Senator Gaudier.
Once a Marine, always a Marine. Move to vote.
Okay, there's been a motion to vote. In a second, any objections? Hearing none, we are not in voting procedures. With a vote count of 46 to 0, Proclamation 5713 passes second reading. Next, we have Proclamation 5714, Proclamation denouncing political violence on university campuses and calling for civic discourse. Senator Connolly, you have 5 minutes whenever you're ready.
Good evening, Senate. I introduce this proclamation which condemns political violence on college campuses and reaffirms UCF's commitment to fostering civic discourse. I believe this to be important because with recent current events we see in our country, it is important to remember that a university should be a space where students can express their opinions and ideas freely without fear for their safety, especially after what we saw with Charlie Kirk in September. On top of increased polarization as a whole, several politically affiliated RSOs on our campus have needed increased security at their events, and many students are more wary of expressing their views in settings where freedom of speech is meant to be encouraged. And as senators, it is our job to advocate for these RSOs, and students should know that their university denounces all forms of this violence and takes their concerns seriously, no matter where they stand politically. And this applies to students on all sides of the aisle. And in this proclamation, I also encourage the university to foster more programming that promotes genuine, respectful discussions between students of all viewpoints, as not only should this be part of the mission of higher education, but it also gives students crucial skills to be well-informed, considerate citizens in our democracy. And I yield my time.
All right, we are now in a period of questioning. Are there any questions on this proclamation? Senator Escobar?
Was the original proclamation amended in SBA?
It was, yes.
All right, any other questions? Senator Escobar?
Could you please inform us which whereas clause was amended in SBA?
I believe the clause about Representative Fortman was added, as well as the data from the Pew Research Center.
Okay, and then Senator Zivin, did you have anything to add to that? Okay, perfect. Any other questions on this proclamation? Senator Rillo?
Was the original intention of this proclamation to specifically call for civic discourse in like general society and politics, or specifically on university campuses?
Specifically on university campuses.
All right, any other questions on this proclamation? Seeing none, we are now in a period of debate. Senator Lipner.
Motion to see my amendments.
All of them as a block?
Yes, please. And I'll also add in Senator Zivins as that block.
Okay, do you accept that?
I was just gonna ask to see minus technicals.
Yours are?
It's just changing the date that we saw this in committee because it was written wrong, and then adding the School of Politics, Security, and International Affairs instead of the department.
Okay, the date can be seen as a technical, the other one will be added as a friendly. You have 2 minutes whenever you're ready.
2 minutes. Okay. So I'll try to go fast, but I'll probably need more time. I want to speak plainly about why I wanted to bring these amendments forward. This resolution or proclamation was started with really great intentions. I think that condemning political violence and calling for civil discourse is incredibly important. But as originally drafted, I believe it reflected a very specific national narrative, one that centers violence around conservative figures, while overlooking the violence, threats, and fear experienced by communities of color, queer students, and others that are happening right here at UCF. That imbalance matters to me because when we only cite examples that fit one side storyline, we stop becoming advocates and we start becoming echoes. My amendments attempt to restore this balance and truth by first making clear that academic freedom, peaceful protest, and freedom from discrimination are not competing values, but are instead interdependent. They're a triad. If we protect speech without protecting safety, or safety without academic freedom, we failed on all three fronts. Second, they expand the definition of political violence to include hate-motivated threats like racism, anti-Semitism, Islamophobia, homophobia, and other modern forms of harassment like doxing and swatting. Because violence doesn't only happen at rallies or debates. Sometimes it happens quietly, online, slowly, and often disproportionately to students from marginalized backgrounds. And third, they bring this conversation home. On September 11th, our Black student community faced a heinous mass shooting threat just a single day after Charlie Kirk was terribly murdered. Many students sat in classrooms waiting for an alert that came too late, and that experience shook trust in the idea that all students are protected equally. If this resolution continues to ignore that, and it isn't bipartisan, I believe it's blind. By adding that incident and acknowledging inequities in response, these amendments ensure that when we say no political violence, we mean absolutely none. Not just the kind that fits into someone's campaign email or headline, but truly all forms. And finally, the expanded RSO distribution list centers and matters on, it expands the group to the people who are truly impacted. It ensures that the proclamation reaches the people who actively live with the consequences of hate and political intimidation and aren't just partisan specific. It includes cultural, faith-based, and identity-based organizations. Because I believe that's what true bipartisanship looks like. Not flattening differences, but facing all realities with the same moral standard. And if we're going to denounce political violence, then we need to denounce it everywhere it happens, whether it targets a conservative speaker or a Black student walking to campus. And that's what I wanted these amendments to do, to not dilute the message, but to make it honest, transparent, and fair. Thank you.
Okay, we're on for the questioning. Are there any questions, Chair Varela?
Two, if I may.
You may.
Do you recognize a distinct difference between political violence and just normal kind of hate-motivated violence and racial violence?
So I do think that they have separate impacts. However, as I mentioned within some of my whereas clauses, they have very similar sources and oftentimes represent one another very interchangeably. And so I think that they should be treated equally and represented and recognized in hand.
Your second question.
Do you fear that by including identity groups such as, sexuality, religion, and stuff like that on a proclamation about political violence, we risk politicizing someone's identity, like making the point that being part of the LGBTQ plus community could be a political statement?
No.
Okay, I will go Senator Connolly and then Senator Green.
So I guess what would these amendments add? Because I understand that there was a proclamation that was passed a few weeks ago that did denounce the events that occurred on campus on September 11th.
Absolutely. So I felt as though this proclamation went outside of the scope that we as student government forced UCF and specifically the Senate body are able to speak on. That's why I specifically removed the line in the first therefore be it resolved clause and changed it from college campuses in the United States as a whole to the University of Central Florida. All in all, I was just trying to recenter the conversation on what is happening on our campus specifically, as opposed to what is happening nationally, and truly create that opportunity for advocacy and change to be made.
Senator Green.
I was going to ask, because I added an amendment to the amendment, if the author is willing to see that as a friendly.
Oh, absolutely. Thank you.
Vice Chair Wonjin.
Two, if I may.
You may, but be aware there is about 30 seconds left in questioning.
Is there a reason you added CAB as one of the organizations to send it to?
Yeah, I mean, when talking about civil discourse and a lot of these whereas clauses being focused on the ways that we plan events in general, it felt as though they would be good to loop in on this.
Okay, and then your second question.
Can you see both of my amendments to your amendments as friendlies? They're both just technicals, basically.
Yeah, absolutely.
Chair Chow?
Arson.
Okay, any other questions? Or is there a motion to extend? Chair Chow?
Motion to extend questioning time by 2 minutes.
There's been a motion to extend questioning time by 2 minutes. And a second, any objections? Hearing none. I know that this is a longer meeting, but please continue to be engaged, guys. Senator Connolly?
I was just going to ask, because you do bring up the concern of bipartisanship, which I totally validate, but during SBA, we did add a clause about Representative Portman in order to address this concern. So I guess I was just wondering what specifically about the bill as it stands now kind of brings up that concern about bipartisanship.
Yeah, so we had this conversation a little bit in GAP when we were voting on whether or not to sponsor this bill. And personally speaking, I'm hesitant about that whereas clause with Representative Portman altogether, because while it was political violence that happened, I don't feel as though it was specifically related to the university campuses and civic discourse. And once again, I wanted to reframe that conversation to really be focused on how we as UCF students can improve our campus and our community to be more supportive and denounce political violence on UCF specifically.
All right, are there any other questions on these amendments? Seeing none, we are now in a period of debate. Senator Escobar, Senator Reed, and then Senator Connolly.
I did have a question, but for why are you striking through in the title on university campuses?
Yeah, so this was once again trying to just remove that excessive scope beyond what I feel like we as a student Senate body can speak towards. I'd be willing to see it change to Central Florida or like UCF, or simply just leaving the university campuses. I think that's a fine thing to discuss, but yeah, that's why I did that.
Okay, so we're still in a period of debate. Senator Escobar, did you still have a piece of debate? Go on.
While I agree with portions of this amendment, I won't be voting in favor. I believe the original intent and the original wording of the proclamation was fine as is. It is addressing an instance of political violence that occurred on university campuses. We are a university. We can speak on things that happen on other university campuses. And I feel like these amendments do a lot. And we did have that proclamation a few weeks ago that addressed some of these concerns, and I understand including them. However, I feel like it furthers from the original intent of denouncing political violence on university campuses specifically.
ELA Reed, I'm pretty sure I called on you next.
Yeah, so I completely agree with what Senator Escobar had stated. I do worry that by adding so much to this proclamation that, like Senator Escobar said, we are really steering away a little bit from the original intent on of the proclamation. While I do agree that it is important to bring up a lot of these topics that are addressed in the amendment, I do believe that in the stance of which the proclamation stands, they do kind of steer us away from the topic, and it becomes a little bit more of like, we'll just kind of add everything in, opposed to we're just focusing on what occurs on university campuses. And additionally, I think by striking out the on university campuses, we have like completely changed the proclamation from what it was originally.
Senator Connolly?
Yeah, so I'm going to concur. I'm against these amendments because although I view acts of hate to be equally worthy of condemnation, I believe that it is an unrelated issue and it does take away from the focus of this legislation, which is to condemn violence of a political nature on university campuses. And I think these are two very important but separate issues worthy of their own proclamations. And we did see a proclamation a few weeks ago that did exactly what these amendments are aiming to do and specifically address the threats that occurred on September 11th. Therefore, I believe that these amendments, while well-intentioned, only take away from the focus of this proclamation to condemn acts of political violence. And I believe students who are feeling affected by widespread polarization and violence do deserve a sentiment that is solely dedicated to ensuring that their student government condemns these acts and violates their concerns.
All right, with 3 in negation, are there any in affirmation? Seeing Senator Smith.
I understand the sentiment of other senators. However, I feel like we're focusing more on one whereas clause against like the whole amendment that is present here. In the way I'm reading the amendment, I feel like it only adds to what political violence can be, how it shows up in our communities at UCF, and how it can show up in our communities at other campuses. So I understand the other sentiments, but I feel like this doesn't take away from the bill, as it only is adding like definitions and explanations of what political violence is so that it can be more easily recognized in our communities. Thank you.
Okay, anybody else wishing to speak in debate? Senator Banesh.
Yeah, I'm going to echo the sentiments of Chair Smith. I think you guys are focusing way too much on one part of the bill. I believe that these don't subtract at all. And with that, move to vote.
There's been a motion to vote and a second. Any objections?
I object, sorry.
I withdraw.
We're still in debate. Chair Lipner.
I'm just going to withdraw this single amendment in the title to restore the university campuses line.
Okay. We are still in debate on this. Chair Banesh.
Move to vote.
There's been a motion to vote and a second. Any objections? Hearing none, we are now in voting procedures on the amendments. Okay, with a vote count of 24-20-1, these amendments pass. We are still in debate on the bill as a whole, on the resolution as a whole. Sorry, guys, I have to go through and fix this. Chair Gaudio.
I move to see my amendment.
There's been a motion to see Chair Gaudio's amendments. Is there a second? Any objections? Hearing none, you have 2 minutes whenever you're ready.
So this proclamation is one denouncing political violence on university campuses and calling for civic discourse. I'd like to draw attention to on university campuses. This particular clause, which, if I was paying attention, was added in SBA in the name of bipartisanship, but this was not on a university campus. I don't think it's relevant to political violence on university campuses specifically. So I do not believe it belongs here as long as this is pertaining specifically to political violence on university campuses.
All right, we are now in a period of questioning. Are there any questions? Senator Zivin?
Yeah, I see what you're saying, but would you be open to like maybe changing the title of the proclamation itself, like denouncing political violence on university campuses and like the United States?
I just want consistency.
Ely Reed?
In the name of bipartisanship, would you propose maybe including something else in to replace it?
I just want it to be consistent. Something could be put in to replace it. Something could not. It's just, if it pertains to university campuses, it should be university campuses. If we're going to include instances not on university campuses, we should specify that it's for political violence in general.
All right, any other questions on this amendment? Seeing none, we are now in a period of debate. I will go Senator Matthews, Senator Banesh, and then Senator Escobar.
Where I do see Chair Gaudio's opinion about consistency, I do agree with that. I do think, though, that we do need to have some sort of bipartisanship in this proclamation. So I think that we should thoroughly think about if we should replace that whereas clause with something else.
Senator Banesh?
I'm voting in favor of the removal of this clause. I'm not going to lie to you guys. I'm like one of the most left-leaning people on the planet. I understand that y'all want to put in another extra thing, but it's literally just a fact. Conservative activist Charlie Kirk died. Like, that's a great example of political violence on university campuses. If you can find somebody else from the other side, I would encourage you putting that in. But I think yeah, and the unfortunate death of Melissa Hortman is not really relevant to this proclamation in particular. And this is coming from a radical leftist. So,
Senator
yeah.
Escobar.
I'll have to agree. I will be voting to remove this whereas clause. We've just amended the proclamation to include an instance that happened here at UCF. So while that's not necessarily partisan, it is another instance, an example of political violence, at least threats of violence. So I'm in favor of removing this whereas clause.
All right. ELA Reid.
I understand. I really, really do. And I completely agree. The only thing I really, really worry about is if we highlight one side and not the other, I could see in the future people reaching out about that and having some concerns. So that's the only thing that I am really concerned about in terms of like some of our left-leaning RSOs, news sources, things like that. Not that I could see it, being national news or anything, but like if the charge comes to my email and is like, why did you only highlight one part? That's the only thing I'm really concerned about removing.
Senator Trevor Hernandez.
I'm in favor of this amendment, and if we're looking at the entire thing, be like, why just this one thing? That just shows like the entire intention of the proclamation, and so then at that point, we're just looking at the proclamation in its entirety.
I do feel like everybody has their decision that they are going to make on this proclamation. Senator Benesh.
Move to vote.
There's been a motion to move to vote and a second. Any objections? Hearing none, we are now voting on this amendment. And then also to add, we have run out of votes, so we have to use the objection. If you are abstaining for this one, Chair Gaudio, if they do not vote, would you be able to figure that out on the voting record as an abstention?
I think you can click abstain on objection votes, can't you?
Okay, I'm sorry, guys. Go on. Okay, with a vote count of 26 to 16 to 1, this amendment does pass. We're still in debate on the proclamation as a whole. Senator Benesh.
I see. I think somebody's writing an amendment. Actually, I don't know.
Okay. Senator Trey Hernandez.
May I direct a question to the GAP chair?
You may.
Can you explain why the committee did not vote in favor to sponsor this bill?
That was to you, GAP chair.
Yeah, sorry, argument being made. Honestly, a lot of the members had differing opinions about why they chose not to sponsor it. As far as I could tell, there was some concerns about it not being in just general like university scope. Like I know there's some concern over the Melissa Hortman whereas clause, about like that kind of not being on university. There's some concerns about just the bill with the amendments kind of losing its meaning, being diluted. So there's definitely not one reason why individual members of the GAP committee decided to not sponsor it. It's kind of everything we've talked about today. At least one member also thought that.
All right. Sorry, the formatting is all messed up, guys. Okay, we're still in debate on the proclamation, correct? Yes. Chair Lipner.
Motion to see my amendment, which I'm going to move from one line to another real quick before seeing it. Sorry. It's fine there, actually.
Are we seeing your amendment?
Yes, please.
Okay, you have 2 minutes.
So we were looking for a piece of more quote unquote, not the term I was looking for, non-biased, nonpartisan information. Although I think this is relatively partisan, and it was supposed to be Politico. It's the name of the news organization. But essentially, there's this news article that was published on 10/14/2025 titled, quote, "I love Hitler, leaked messages expose young Republicans' racist chats," end quote. And so it feels like a form of political violence that was mentioned on a college campus. And so I figured we could talk about whether that was fitting here.
Okay, we are now in period of questioning. Chair Gaudio.
How do we know that this is relevant to a university campus? Because young Republicans and college Republicans are two completely separate organizations. We have a college Republicans chapter on UCF. We do not have a young Republicans chapter. It's kind of how those organizations operate. So if you could elaborate on that.
I withdraw.
Okay. I see that there is an amendment being written. I will say, if we cannot figure it out and workshop it tonight, you guys do have the option to send it back to SBA for to be worked on further. These are things.
I'd like to make a statement if I may.
We are in debate. You may.
And concerning how many votes that we have left, I believe that we only have 2 to 3 for the objection votes for the meeting. So for any further amendments that are to be made, please make sure that they're concise, and just to think about how much they add to the proclamation, as we only have so many more votes that we can make.
Okay, Vice Chair Hernandez.
I motion to remand this back to SBA.
There's been a motion to remand this back to SBA and a second. Any objections? Hearing none, I hereby remand Proclamation 5714 back to SBA. Senate Forum, Banesh.
All right, guys, this is a serious topic coming from me, so bear with me. I even have a speech prepared. As we move deeper into the semester and final season's approaches, I want to take a moment to remind us why we're here, not just as student government leaders, but as people who care about our campus community. This is one of the most stressful times of the year, it's after Halloween weekend, no more fun, like finals, projects, post-graduation plans can pile up fast. But this year, that stress is magnified by what's happening beyond our campus gates. Many of our peers are dealing with real-world challenges, such as delayed flights, reduced EBT benefits, and financial uncertainty due to the ongoing government shutdown. It is currently the longest government shutdown we've ever experienced, which is crazy. These issues are not abstract headlines. They directly affect our classmates, our friends, and even some of the people in this room. I know I've been struggling. I don't know about y'all. As student leaders, our job doesn't stop at planning events or passing motions. It's about building a bridge, connecting students to resources, to compassion, and to hope. We have the opportunity, and I would say the responsibility, to make sure that no student feels alone at this time. So as finals approach, let's think about what support really looks like. It can be small, checking in on someone who's struggling, reminding people about tutoring and counseling services, or even hosting stress relief spaces on campus. It can also be systemic, advocating for emergency aid, extending food pantry hours, or pushing clearer communication about student resources during the shutdown. And just as we extend grace to our peers, we should extend it to each other. We're all balancing academics, leadership, and life. Let's keep showing up with empathy for our constituents and for our fellow SG agents, because solidarity starts right here in this room. The truth is, this moment, with finals pressure and national uncertainty, is exactly when student government matters most. This is our chance to demonstrate leadership that is grounded in care, action, and awareness. Let us use our platforms to uplift students and advocate loudly and compassionately, and to remind our campus that even when larger systems feel shaky, that we are still here, steady, united, and looking out for one another. Thank you.
First of all, Elle, that was like amazing. I just want to thank everyone that came to our mental health event today. It was amazing. Like, genuinely had so many people there. It was so amazing to see all the different RSOs come together. So I just want to thank everyone.
All right. I know that a lot of you are tired and want to go home. We'll stay clapping to the end of Senate Forum. Total Rescue.
I guess I get no clap. All right. So echoing what Senator Matthews said, I think it was an amazing event. And just to touch on mental health, because, I'm a very big advocate for that. So as finals week is approaching, it can get a little bit stressful. I know with the holiday season coming up, it can be super happy and joyous for everybody, but it can also be a little bit tough for others. And I know, especially with everything that's going on in our world, country, whatever you want to call it. It can be tough for those who are uninsured. I know the place that I do internet, it is very tough hearing people that are uninsured or that are seeking help that are unable to get it, whether it's just because they're uneducated or it's a heavy stigma. And it like breaks my heart whenever someone is feeling ashamed to reach out about their mental health and get help. So just want to say it's not embarrassing. There's no shame in getting help. Personally, I'm here for each and every one of you if you ever need help. But yeah, please reach out to someone if you ever need to talk to someone.
Okay, Wanjin.
And your Volunteer UCF related plug for the week. Volunteer UCF is hosting their hunger banquet on Monday, November 17th. I've linked the Night Connect page in the agenda for anyone who's interested. This is in honor of National Hunger and Homelessness Awareness Week, and it's an interactive event to raise awareness of food insecurity and homelessness. It's a really great event, so if you're available, I would really urge you to attend. I believe Amanda, is already going to be reaching out to Lucy and Speaker Quartz about trying to have SG in attendance. But I figured I would plug it here as well, and I'll probably mention it again next week. So please show up if you're able.
Okay, Capinos.
Thank you for bearing with me. I know it's been a long meeting. I just want to harp on the idea that we're all here to express ourselves and express our opinions. And if you ever feel moved to speak, I urge you to do so. I want you to know that no opinions are right, no opinions are wrong. We all here have our own opinions to represent the people that we represent. And so I love to hear all the senators and what their thoughts are on legislation. But there are some senators I hear more of and some senators I don't hear of. And so I just want everyone to feel comfortable speaking when they feel moved to speak, because all of your opinions are valid. And also to touch on the idea of mental health, that's why we also have events for Senate. If you ever feel like you don't have a space here on campus, I want you to feel like you have a space here in Senate. So if you haven't had the opportunity to come to our events, please do so. They're there to bring you guys joy and to bring you guys closer with each other and to understand each other why we have different opinions, because I believe that we can be united in understanding of our values. And that also it goes against when we have big conflicts, because then we can come from an understanding of people's values and what directs our decisions based off of that. So furthermore, I would just urge you to come out to the events. And if you can't make it, we have online opportunities too. Or if you ever wanted to reach out to other senators to do something with them, I urge you to do that as well. So I don't want you to ever feel like you're alone. And if you have an opinion or you want to say something, I urge you to do so, no matter how right or wrong you think you may be.
Senator Escobar.
That was greatly said by Senator Capinos. But also, in light of the current longest government shutdown that we're experiencing, I'm currently a social work intern at a resource center housed within affordable housing communities. And it's really hard seeing those who are vulnerable not be able to access crucial government resources, not be able to access needed documents like Social Security. Seeing older adults, seeing children face this hardship is really hard. And so I encourage everyone, if you can, volunteer, attend food banks, do what you can, do your part in not just here at UCF, but also in the community, because it's really important to, do your part. We're all leaders here. So it's also good to inspire others to do good as well.
Lipner.
Alrighty, this is a long meeting, so I kind of wanted to give you all some good news. As many of you may know, the sea turtle has been a long time considered endangered species by the International Union for Conservation in Nature. And recently, as of mid-October, it has been moved off of that endangered species list. It is now considered in the least concern category. So conservation efforts have been very, very positive in that area and shows that there are improvements happening. So in even the most dire situations, doing good work continuously over time can have improvements in results. Please remember that.
Connolly.
Yeah, so this is a long meeting, so I'll keep this very brief. But in addition to the proclamation that you guys saw today, I do have an event that kind of goes along with it that is planned for November 19th. It's called Coffee and Common Grounds, where students will be paired with other students based on differing ideologies, and we'll be engaging in moderated discussion with the goal to better understand each other and hopefully walk away with a new friend instead of debating and arguing. And this will take place on Wednesday, November 19th in 223 in the Student Union at 11:30 a.m. So if you can pop out, that'll be awesome.
Gadia.
Hello, everybody. Did you know that the current press briefing room in the White House was added by President Richard Nixon, replacing what used to be an indoor swimming pool?
Thank you. You should do your facts in your announcements. I think that happened during the 55th session. Okay, Senate deliberation. I don't see anybody. Advisors report. Amanda.
Hello, everyone. I just wanted to thank everyone for being patient for the what felt like 30 minutes. I was trying to figure out the first vote. You all are lovely. You've been amazingly welcoming, and I'm grateful for you. Thank you.
Any questions? Oh, yeah. Any questions for Amanda? Seeing none. Miscellaneous business. Senator shoutouts. Are we feeling Senator shoutouts? Yes. Okay. Katrina. Gaudio.
I move to adjourn pending final roll call.
Wait,
I object. I object.
guys. We can move past Senator shoutouts, but we'll do Hamid's Habitat. Afton is a year-old, adopted by a cat cafe. From a cat cafe, he used to be a street cat, but now he loves to be with people and get pets. Gaudio.
I move to adjourn pending final roll call.
There's been a motion to adjourn pending final roll call and a second. Any objections? Hearing none. Chair Gaudio.
Try to, if you're going to pack up, do it quietly, please. Paul.
Present.
Reed.
Present.
Olivia Smith. Hagenbook. Casimiro.
Present.
Callis.
Present.
Ariza. Cabanos.
Present.
Lim.
Present.
Pison.
Present.
Sadvika. Chow.
Present.
Jane. Sherman.
Present.
Present.
Danae Smith.
Present.
Ali. D.
Present.
Malik. Orwela.
Present.
Hamid. Kaufman. Lich.
Present.
Metellus. McNulty.
Present.
Ricasa.
Present.
Rose.
Present.
Guys. Thank you. Rudy. Trey Hernandez. El Harak. Fawcett. Riggett.
Present.
I'm here. Chauhan. Escobar.
Present.
Magadia.
Present.
Rodriguez.
Present.
Wanjan.
Present.
Hasanain.
Present.
Phillips.
Present.
Green.
Present.
Wynn. Bonaventure. Perez.
Present.
Okuda.
Present.
Banesh. Candeloro.
Present.
Courts.
Present.
Jones.
Present.
Nayon.
Present.
Matthews.
Present.
McGray.
Present.
Nursimadevra.
Present.
Renda.
Present.
Connolly.
Present.
Simmons.
Present.
Teodorescu.
Present.
Varela.
Present.
Zivin.
Present.
Sorry. Zivin.
Present.
Lipner.
Present.
46 out of
I
59.
hereby adjourn this meeting at 10:41 p.m. Get home safe.